But you at least gotta think as best as you can on what the ones you do know are, and try to break those things down into a way that you can actually discern what is real, what is not, what's a real obstruction, what's something that's really hindering you from moving forward, and what's really just a distraction. There's just a lot of absolute nonsense. Oh yeah, that's that good shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had that. Welcome to the Any Last Words pod. My name is Earl Lonnie Hooks. A very special thanks to everybody that will be joining us today on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, as well as YouTube. Please do not forget to follow us on Instagram at ALWPod. The God in me honors the God in each and every one of you. That's a little spiel that I do.
That's beautiful. Look
Today we have Ada. Ada, you know what? This is hilarious, and it's hilarious on various levels. Mm-hmm. This next thing I'm about to say.
Oh no.
It'll mostly be funny to you and I.
Okay.
What is your last name?
Iftikhar.
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 Yes.
Iftikhar. Gotcha. There we go. Do people have an issue with that usually?
No.
Okay, good.
Actually, yeah, honestly. A lot of people cannot pronounce my last name. I don't know why.
Iftikhar.
Like, it sounds very simple to me.
Do you break it down into phonetics for them?
Yes, always.
I've had a lot of friends that have names that people can't pronounce.
Yeah, being Middle Eastern really helps with that one.
Yeah,
too.
so what we try to do is make people learn people's names as opposed to just naming them Tim or Bob or Sam or Jenny or Sarah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. Iftikhar.
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 If the car. That's also
Is that what you do?
Yeah.
If the car?
Basically.
But you try to tell people to just run it.
That was an elementary school nickname. Yeah. For all the white kids that couldn't pronounce my name, If the car was the easiest way for them to do that. So, yeah.
Was that like a jokey? Did they pick fun at you? Because it's not a very good one.
It's not a good joke at all. I really don't know. I could never understand it. They also called me a demon a lot of the times because my eyes are so dark. They're not like bright blue. So, yeah.
Did you feel like any of these things growing up? Did you have that in elementary school or just middle school?
No, both.
Okay.
Definitely both.
How far back can you remember that?
Probably... Geez, as soon as I moved to America, honestly, that was probably around the third grade. Okay. Around 8 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, 8 or 9.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And there was automatic, like instantaneously a difference between you and them, quote unquote.
Yes.
Like they made that distinction.
Oh yeah, it was massive.
In third grade?
It was ridiculous. I mean, I guess, too.
Yeah, okay, no, you're right. You're right. That's very true. Why, like, what do you remember?
Let me think. Well, first and foremost, I can definitely remember being an incredibly hairy child.
Okay.
It was disgusting. I hated it myself, but it's completely natural. I didn't think anything of it. And so, molting around my first day of school, no big deal. And this like little group of like 9-year-old girls come up to me and they're like, "What's that on your face? What's on your arms?" And then that's immediately when I knew.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is going to be tough.
Fuck.
Yeah, like I got a long ride ahead of me.
Yeah, basically, until they try to look like me however years later. So I was just kind of waiting for that day. The revenge plot was going on in my head for years and years and years. I was like, it's going to happen one day. They're making fun of my eyebrows today, but 2 days from now, 2 years from now, they're gonna want this. They're gonna love it.
I definitely think that those things can make a huge difference in a child. I mean, they do. They make a huge difference in a child's life.
Oh, 100%. The self-esteem, the care for yourself, and the care for your own self-hygiene, quote unquote. That was a big one. I mean, I felt that I didn't have any personal hygiene if I wasn't consistently shaving my entire body. It was repulsive. I mean, I was causing nicks on all of my skin because it was so sensitive. I started doing that at probably 11 years old. It was horrible. And it wasn't even of any fault of my own. It was mostly because of the people around me. And then my family caught on to it, trying to be more Americanized, trying to fit into this European, beauty standard that was so prevalent here, especially in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So I guess that was just a really big part of my life growing up. Like it didn't really make sense for a long time until I realized probably 3 years ago that who the fuck cares?
That was the realization that came through.
Yeah,
Who
basically.
the fuck cares?
Who genuinely gives a shit if I have hair on my arms or if I have peach fuzz on my face?
No one, really cares.
No one genuinely cares. The only people that would care is some bullshit beauty critics in Hollywood.
People, first of all, don't even on a genuine sense care about what's going on with people, really. So they definitely don't care about what's going on.
No, not at all.
With your face, really.
No, not at all. Even in high school, I remember a friend of mine, we were talking about something very traumatic. I don't know what it was. Some boyfriend thing or harp or whatever. Something familial or whatever that was upsetting her at the time. We talk about it, I'm helping her, giving her advice, and next thing I know, she looks over and she's like, have you ever tried to bleach your mustache? And I'm like, where did that even come from? I'm helping you through your family trauma right now, and the only thing you're thinking about is my fucking mustache? Like, fuck you, dude. My God. Sorry, I grow more hair than you do on my face. Like, it was the most out-of-pocket thing I have ever experienced when it came to that. Because usually it's just direct. You know what I mean? It's just like, this is what I see, because children have no filter.
Yeah.
So I'm just hearing like, oh, what's on your face? Do you always grow hair like that?
Yeah.
What is it? Why does your nose look like that? Blah, 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 blah. You know, random shit like that.
Yeah.
And then I get used to it. I tell them, oh, I'm from here. This is why this is happening. It's just in my body. It's my genetics. And then they'll let it go. And then it turns into a whole spiel about how Islam is completely different than Christianity. And that's a whole different segment. But...
So that theological talk was like high school. You're not having those talks in middle school, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
Really?
My first time having that conversation was, I remember this vividly, I was either in 4th or 5th grade, and I was in the lunch line.
What the fuck are you kids doing?
I don't know.
I was worried about if there was still more milk, like chocolate milk cartons left, or if it was like going to be pizza, or if it was going to be hot dogs.
I'm thinking about the French toast sticks I'm about to go eat. Right? Like, but this girl comes up to me and she's from Honduras, right? So I'm thinking like, she's straight from Honduras. She's an immigrant. She's a friend of mine for a long time. This shouldn't be a conversation we're having. I think it's going to be normal. She comes up to me out of nowhere. First words that come out of her mouth are, does your family use toilet paper? I heard Muslims don't do that. And I sucked in. This is the first time I can remember vividly being like sucking my teeth and just like taking this sharp inhale and just holding it for a second and being like, okay, God. And then just moving on. I'm like, okay, no, that's not how that works. We use toilet paper, but we wash ourselves first. And that's it. That's the only difference. That's my own. Why do you need to know about my bathroom hobbies while I'm about to go eat? Like, why do you care?
There is a childlike curiosity, which is very interesting because I have it today.
Oh, me too.
Right? Like there is this curiosity. I mean, and clearly as a kid, you don't have the tools to be able to refine your inquiries into a obtrusive sort of way.
Yeah.
But I don't remember asking people things like this.
Me neither.
Like I certainly don't remember, but I do remember me having dark skin being a thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, because when I was in elementary school, there were like a couple other black kids at the school. Mm-hmm. There was a girl and she was like just as dark skinned as I was. So they always had like put us together and anything. It was like them two, right? Like people always thought that there was some sort of romance going on between us. Like people always paired us together. Mm-hmm. But then the other black kids, they just weren't as dark skinned as me. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't until I got into middle school. And clearly then, like, the province widens at that point in time. And then you have kids from all different sorts of fucking neighborhoods in the city. Then I and other kids started to see people that were darker than me. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh shit, we thought Earl was dark. We fucking look at this guy over here. Like, this shit is crazy. Oh, and
I can only imagine.
It was definitely, I definitely felt a weight lifted off of me because I was just like, okay, at least now I'm not the darkest person in the world to these people.
Of course.
But that was never the issue in the first place. The issue is that you're looking at these people like, yo, what the fuck is going on with you? And I definitely remember between that and my favorite shows being anime growing up.
Oh no.
And now these Japanese cartoons, I mean, the people looked like white people because I'm watching like Dragon Ball Z, like I'm watching everything, Naruto,
Inuyasha, Sailor Moon,
all of that sort of stuff, that sort of stuff. And so then I'm like, well, damn, I want to be like that. Like, I want to be able to power up and fly and shoot shit out of my hands and beat people up and save the world. Like, I want to do that. So between that and that, I found myself thinking like, man, it would be really cool to have like this straight hair and to like not be picked on constantly all the time. Yeah, exactly. Like that is a weird thing. That. I remember that particularly in fourth grade, because there was one of these guys from, I guess from the middle school, and he was doing the peer mentoring program. So he was coming and helping, like my class, like me and my class, and they were coming over, and I don't know whatever the fuck they did with the younger kids, but they were over there coloring with us and doing whatever it is we were doing.
Nice. And
I think that day, maybe we were writing an essay, or maybe I just happened to say it, but I said something along the lines of like, man, it'd probably be really cool to be white or something like that. And my mentor was a black guy. And he was like, as definitely the wrong black guy to say this to, like as a young kid. And he was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you gotta be proud of who you are, like black power. Like it got really, really,
Like Dr. Umar level, or
yes. It was actually something like that, actually, because I remember him. But then it got back to my parents, included there had to be some talk there. I forget exactly how it went, but it's just like, come on, man. Like you gotta get over this stuff. But yeah, it's definitely,
it's hard to get over that. I feel like, because I never saw people that look like myself. Yeah, my skin's more pale, but like the features on my face are completely different. Yeah, you know what I mean. I never saw people that actually looked like me have superpowers, be heroes, be cool, honestly, in any way. Like the only thing, if you think
let alone a superhero, just cool. Like
have friends, not be this like smells like their home cooking, always is like studious, only cares about like their education, has to be a valedictorian as Indian kid. Right. And I'm not even fucking Indian, so that makes it even worse. So I'm like, this is the only representation I have, but it's not even me. And the entire time I'm sitting there throughout my entire childhood, throughout all this stuff, and I'm like, why the fuck doesn't anyone look like me? Yeah. So in a way I can relate. It's just, it discourages you for a while. And it's not that you don't want to be the race that you are, or you don't want to be yourself. It's that I haven't seen anybody look like me be cool, so why would I think that I'm ever capable of that? Yeah. It's hard. Yeah, as a young kid, again, I'm talking about fourth grade, you're talking about elementary school, middle school, like these ages, these are super awkward ages. Definitely. Middle school is awkward as hell. God, definitely. That's the middle.
Remember what you looked like in middle school?
I don't even want to think about it.
I don't think if you were an attractive middle school kid, like you drew a hell of a lottery. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's just an awkward place to be. You pulled the
genetics lottery.
It's super.
You peak in high school most likely, but at least in middle school you're like perfect.
Peaking in high school is fucking insane. Although that is, that's a common trope. Like that is something that happens 100%. To many people.
Oh yeah. I feel like it's mostly because of, well, not genetics wise, but personality wise. I feel like it comes from having all this pressure on you. When you grow up being popular, I wasn't popular, but I hear this from other people. When you grow up from being super popular,
go ahead. I may be able to give you insight on this.
You hear so much like about having all this pressure. I had a good amount of friends. I can't say I was super uncool. I had a lot of friends. I went out a lot. I did a lot of stuff, and that was way too much pressure on me in high school. I can only imagine how much it was if I was like on the cheerleading squad, if I was a football player, if I always got straight A's, was in like all the AP classes, always doing something, and then on top of that, now I'm school president because everyone fucks with me. Yeah. Everyone looks up to me. Everyone likes me, and I'm goddamn beautiful. Like, that would be a lot of pressure to put on somebody who doesn't really understand themselves just yet.
For sure. And so when you're a kid and you're one of us and you're kind of just being looked at and treated as a pariah in certain ways. Yeah. How do you like trying to conceptualize that as a kid, that makes zero to no sense at all.
Not at all.
It makes zero to no sense.
None.
And so something I've actually talked to a friend about today, which is interesting, this whole talk about childhood, is that I've taken a very, very interesting route through life. In that I'm feeling more and more every day as though I'm getting the best parts of what being a child was back.
That's a beautiful experience, I'm sure.
Right? Like, doesn't that sound very cool? Like, the best parts of what it was to be a kid, I feel like I'm getting those things back, but now with an adult prowess.
Exactly. At an adult level of maturity on the situation, which is even better, because you won't make those fucked up little mistakes. Like looking at a black guy and being like, oh, you chocolate person. You know what I mean?
Well, we actually just talked about a little bit about self-sabotage.
Of course.
Right? And
it's something I have to talk about with anybody that I meet.
Do you actually find yourself, I mean, is that like one of the main sort of pillars that you end up talking about truly with people that you talk to for more than an hour?
Yes.
Really?
Definitely.
It's been that prevalent.
It is huge in my life. I didn't even realize I was self-sabotaging until like late high school. I didn't know anything about it, and I realized throughout every single year of my life, ever since probably early middle school, I had been doing something to self-sabotage myself. I didn't know why. It was just something that was almost ingrained into my being, that like I believed that I either couldn't do something because of my race, because of my gender, because of my smarts, because of how I grew up, because of whatever reason it was. I always believed that I deserved less subconsciously. So that would just almost show up in the work that I was doing. I was a really smart kid, and I still am. I'm incredibly intelligent when it comes to book smarts too. I don't know, there was always something in me that was like, you aren't going to be good enough at this. You're not going to be good enough at that. And if you're not perfect at it right now, you're never going to be. And so I'd sabotage myself every single time, whether it was my relationships, schooling, whatever. And I never knew why. And so coming to that realization and actually understanding that from like a real standpoint, from, therapy, classes, whatever, understanding it, it's something that I just can't shut the fuck up about anymore. So I'm like, now I know I can't self-sabotage myself. But then I find the little tiny pinprick things that I'm doing that's also part of self-sabotage. And it just blows my mind every single time. So I'm like, what the I thought I beat this fucking demon and there's more of you? Like, jeez. But I feel like as a human being, at least in this society as a whole, it's almost impossible to not self-sabotage in one way or another. Whether it's, not believing in yourself, or, thinking that because of past baggage, the next partner is going to treat you in that regard the same way someone else did, or something familial that you just never really like processed fully. Something is always going to make you self-sabotage until you realize that you're doing it and you put a stop to it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. That familial thing, or anything with this, the idea of your close friends, anybody in your close circle that you have to see and interact with on a frequent basis. We spoke about, before we got on here and hit record, we were speaking about people that they're okay with just hiding things, with just sweeping ideas and problems, talks that are just, to me, absolutely wild to not have under the rug. And the more you come into truth in your life, and you're like trying to consciously live your life in a truthful way, the more stark the contrast is when you look at people that are doing the complete opposite.
Yep.
And it blows. I mean, probably in the same way that you see the self-sabotage manifest itself in the things that you're doing, it blows my mind to see people living day to day just lies. Lies.
It's riddled through them like it's in their genetics, in their DNA. It is ridiculous.
It's so crazy to me.
Right? It almost scares me because I'm like, that level of not like not being able to see yourself. You know, you don't have this self-awareness of what you're speaking on, what you're doing, how you're living, and the things you're telling yourself. It's...
I have a friend that, like, she's going through this thing with her parents. Like, I've never seen, like, her parents just won't talk. Like, they won't have a real conversation. Anytime any sort of conversation comes about that seems like things are about to get real for a second,
Yep.
they shut that shit down immediately. Like, we're not having this. Like, whatever it is you're trying to do right now, we're not doing that. Like, we're not having this discussion.
Yep. I'm too familiar with that.
This is the exact issue. Like, what are you talking about? There's no problem to be had. There's nothing to talk about. We don't need. And it's like, and you know, I heard this discussion the other day by this neuroscientist that I'm always talking about, that I like, that speaks to this clinical psychologist that I'm always talking about. And they're having this discussion. And this is, you want to talk about scary. He's saying, if you're someone that does not value logic or reasoning or evidence or conversation, then all of those things are now a non-starter. There's nowhere to even begin. There's no evidence or logic or understanding I could give you that would make you value those things, because you don't value them in the first place, which means there is a framework issue. There is a straight value issue. So we can't even begin the conversation.
Because there's no conversation to be had in their minds. There's nothing
fucking
there.
Crazy to me. Yeah. Can you for a second imagine how restricted and how constrained your world would be if that's how you decided to go about life?
I can only imagine, honestly, because I've always been the person that is very left side brain. Like, yeah, I'm emotional as a motherfucker. I will cry for hours and I will think deep about my emotions, but logic is so important. You really cannot live in the world without logic. You have to have some framework of
you
logic.
Can.
Yeah, I mean, apparently.
Right?
But you just, in my brain, I cannot fathom it. It doesn't make any sense to me, but growing up, I've had the exact same thing with my family. There is something...
Like, what's going on over there?
It's just shut down. If there's anything about logic, if there's anything about, hey, this is the problem, I know this is the problem, can we talk about the problem? Just forget about it. Don't even think about it. What's the point?
Hold on, wait. Hold on. These are quotes?
Yes. Verbatim.
Forget about it. Don't think about it. Yo, I'm trying to...
Yeah. I know.
I mean, I think that a lot of it has to do, like what I'm going through right now, has a lot to do with my nature as a human, but then it being exacerbated by my parents trying to or my family, I should say, trying to instill thought in me, trying to make me think as I grew through the ages. And then it was only, completely overcome at that point in time and pushed forward, I should say, encouraged by, the psychedelic drugs and the research and the further conversations and all these sort of things. Cause then I was like, all I want to do is embody truth. Like, if I could all I want to do is walk and breathe and live truth in every single moment. Like,
I'm literally wearing a wristband that says honesty. Be honest with yourself. So I can never forget that. Even if, like, I will throw this in somebody's face and be like, look, like, I know you're not doing this right now. It doesn't, because when you speak to somebody who lives in just, I don't want to say fantasy, but just emotion and just this feeling that they're having, it's mind-boggling almost. It's scary.
It is.
Because you see that they're telling themselves things that don't make any sense. They're reiterating things and just deciding to push truth over there. And this is how I feel, so this is all that matters. This is my truth.
Yeah,
That's
line.
the thing.
Yeah.
This is my truth is the most annoying statement I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like, in some ways, yes, I completely understand it. I've said it myself. But if you're saying that to completely void something else, some actual truth, some real truth that's sitting right in front of you, you're lying to yourself. You're manipulating yourself.
Or at least an opinion or a different vantage point that maybe has bits of truth in it. Exactly. Or some sort of insight in it that you could extract. But people just too often want to throw everything, jettison everything off the boat.
Exactly.
That's so crazy to me. So what is... I mean, if you don't, like, you can just give me maybe some of the lighter stuff if you want to, but like, what is something that you would like to have a conversation with and it's not happening?
There's plenty.
Or is it just really anything that...
It's plenty. There's more than enough things that I could list like a 50-page essay on all the things that I wish I could have talked about with my family that I never got to. And I can even say, like, the more deep and serious conversations I never really got to have with them. I mean... When it came to abuse, when it came to addiction, when it came to just these traumatic events that kept happening, I want to talk about them. I want to talk about, hey, this really fucked up thing happened to me or happened to somebody that I love. I don't know how to process it. This is the truth of the situation. Can we talk about it? Just forget about it. It never happened. It's in the past, so it's okay. You just have to move on. And that was the strict thing. Like, that's always been the thing. I've had a very close family member. She was going through addiction for, God knows, 3.5 years. And she was like a sister. And I love her with my whole heart. I did everything for her. I almost gave up a high school diploma to make sure that she was safe. And I needed to talk about that. I mean, that genuinely affected me. I lost sleep. I lost relationships. I almost died. I was in so many detrimental situations and I never got to speak about it because it was always pushed to the side. Was
this instance with death, was that with drugs or was that... Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so someone tried to kill me, right? This person was said family member's drug dealer.
Okay.
And so he tried to kill me because I came into his house trying to find my sister. And so I'm not causing a scene. I'm like 16 years old at the time. I'm coming in and I'm like, hey, where's my sister? I need to bring her home. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, blah, blah, blah. She asked to come home. And so I talked to this person. He's not making any sense. I think he's on meth. I don't know what he's doing. And he pulls out his gun and he's like, why are you all up in my house like this? And I'm like, because I need my sister. What about that? Doesn't make any sense. And he's like, well, your sister's not going fucking anywhere. She's having fun here. And I'm like, oh my God. She can come back if she wants to. Man. And so I'm standing up. I gotta fight. I gotta do this whole thing. And this man takes his gun, loads it, and puts it straight in front of my face. And so I'm just sitting there and I'm like, all right, man, if you wanted to shoot me, you could have done it 30 seconds ago. So I play big body because I don't know what else to do.
Right, yeah.
So, because I'm either going to cower in fear and he's going to think he got advantage of me. And then now me and my sister are in this halfway house and now we're fucked. And no one else is going to come get us because my family is just, forget about it. We'll move on. And so I just deal with it. I mean, I play big body. I sit there and I'm like, okay, well, shoot me then. You want a murder charge? Go ahead. I'm right here. What are you going to do? He doesn't do anything about it. He just puts the gun down and he's like, wow, I didn't know you were like that. And then starts laughing.
God.
And
wow.
I go get my sister.
This guy's a clown.
Yes, he is ridiculous. Who would do that to someone who is like 15, 16 years old? That is ridiculous. That is the craziest shit I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But
craziest shit you've ever heard and you lived it.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I go get her and I'm leaving. We go back to the house and I'm sitting with my parents and I'm like freaking the fuck out. Now all the shock is coming back. The adrenaline wore down and I'm crying. I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do. So I'm like, I could have died today and nobody cares. And so I'm trying to have this conversation and it's just, you guys are safe. You guys are home. It's okay.
Yo.
And that's
Yo.
it. Yep.
Yo, what is going on? I
don't know. It makes zero sense. In my brain, I'm like, okay, this is my daughter. this is my daughter. This is my flesh and blood. And she almost died trying to save another family member of mine. This is my other blood. Like, this is important. So I'm going to make sure, as a mother or a father, I'm going to take care of her. I'm going to listen to her. I'm going to talk to her. I'm going to tell her everything's going to be okay, and we will figure something out if I don't know what to do in this situation. But it's just, let's brush it away.
So what is your sense of what is going on in these people's minds that just cannot look at truth? Like, they cannot do it.
I feel like it is almost a tunnel vision sense. Like, it's a tunnel vision way of living life. So let's say you've experienced, like, 30 different instances of trauma by the age of 45, right? Every single time you just don't deal with it because it's easier to numb it out, forget about it, or not deal with it. And so that translates into your relationships. That translates into your family. That translates into everything that you're doing. And so it's easier for these people to just not think about these things and forget about it. It's like, I'm sure you've heard the brain blocks out very traumatic events,
that's what I was about to ask you. Like, you think that these are, like, repressed?
Yes.
Okay.
Completely. I feel like they just choose to repress it, though. In certain moments. It's easier for them to just repress this entire idea of anything being wrong so they can just get over it and move on with their lives and not have that affect their lives.
How powerful. Like, the brain is so powerful and so fickle. Like, that you can truly make this decision to push everything down, just shove it down to the left, to the right, behind that box, put it over there, and it's out of sight, out of mind.
Basically.
That's so wild.
I would love to live in that kind of ignorant bliss, but I don't have that opportunity because I am consistently trying to live in a truthful environment.
And this is a great point. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like if you could make the decision, you would choose, like, if you could flip the switch to just complete darkness and unawareness and you're just walking this earth at just baseline superficiality?
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
I would never.
Yes.
I would never.
It's interesting. Like, when people say ignorance is bliss, I understand the concept. I can understand what they're saying. I couldn't do that. I couldn't, like, for me right now, as far as addictions go, consciousness has been my most healthy one, right?
Yes.
And that I've fallen in love with understanding more about my mind and consciousness and making every moment, as I texted you earlier, every moment the most intentional that I possibly can with every step. Everything I'm doing, I talk about meditation all the time on here, and that, you know, it gets to a point where if you practice it enough where you're doing it all day long in everything that you're doing.
It's
and
almost
so
unconscious.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing because I thought about it. The way I was conceptualizing it to a friend was, if you could imagine someone was like, listen, I'm going to pay all of your bills, your car note, your rent, your water, your electricity, your gas, whatever it is you got, your student loans, I'm going to pay for all of that for the next 3 years. All you have to do is practice something all day, every day. Could you imagine that if you had that time and you pick something that you really like to do? That's also a huge point. Something you really, really like to do. The growth that you could have in 3 years, like doing that thing all day long, every day.
3 months alone.
That's like, right. A quarter of a year.
It would be ridiculous.
It would be. You wouldn't.
It would be intense.
You probably wouldn't even be able to know who you once were, as far as that skill goes that you're deciding to practice.
Not at all.
And so that's me with meditation. Is I found a way to be able to practice it all day long. I don't have to have anyone pay my bills. This is something that I can practice all day long.
Incredible.
And so the amount of success that I've seen through it has been like what you just thought just now. Fucking ridiculous. Unfathomable to yourself.
Almost,
however long ago. 3 months ago.
Exactly.
3 months ago.
A couple months ago, I wouldn't even think that I would be able to sit in this chair and even have a actual conversation from the level of dead I was mentally. I was in a space where I was basically living in that ignorant bliss, but it wasn't even bliss. It was just ignorance. It was ignorant hell. It was ignorant ridiculousness.
Holy fuck. Yeah, if you're going to be ignorant, at least it's got to at least be blissful.
Yeah, right?
Holy shit.
It was horrible.
What was going on? Why was your brain dead?
So, this is where it gets serious.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Oh, that's hilarious. Everyone who's going to be listening is like, oh, this is when it gets serious?
Yeah,
like,
right?
Oh, okay.
So this is the real deep, dark part. For the last over a year, I have been struggling with a abusive domestic relationship.
Okay.
And on top of that translated to drug addiction.
Okay.
And so it wasn't any ordinary drug addiction. I wish it was just me smoking weed every single day.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it was me for the first couple months not realizing I was using fentanyl and then using it intentionally. And so if you don't know what fentanyl is.
Yeah, let's do that.
It's the strongest opioid, man-made right now.
Okay.
It is 50 times stronger than heroin.
Okay.
And 0.2 milligrams of it can and will kill you.
Okay, and that's why we've heard about a lot of deaths.
Yes.
Okay.
In one block in DC, 98 people died in less than a week because of fentanyl overdoses. And overall, within, I want to say it was 1 year study, 158,000 people died.
Now, is this mostly happening because other drugs are being cut with fentanyl?
Yes.
Okay.
Mostly.
Most people aren't they're not searching for it, but there are clearly people that are searching for it.
100%.
Okay.
Yes. So what I started doing, I thought I was just doing like regular old like oxycodone or something, you know, like a hydro, random muscle relaxer that someone would get prescribed.
Right.
And then that turned into me realizing that it was straight fentanyl pressed into a pill. And so I didn't know because the piece of shit drug dealer was giving it to me without telling me what it actually was.
Yeah.
And then 3 months later, he tells me what it actually is because now I'm addicted to it. I have no choice. And so my body's physically dependent on it. No matter how much I want to get off of it, my body's like, yeah, fuck you.
So how long would it take for that to start happening, for the physical cravings to start?
About 3 weeks.
Oh.
The mental cravings start within 2.
Okay.
Almost immediate, honestly.
And what are those like? Like I'm a little bit more I have a bit more of a acquaintance with the mental aspect craving of it, but what's the physical like? So
physical, when it comes to opioids, you get sick.
Okay.
You get really sick. You get hot and cold flashes almost immediately after your last use. If it's been a couple of hours, depending on how much you've been using it, of course, you get hot and cold flashes. So you'll get really hot, you'll start sweating, and then you'll be freezing in the bones, but your skin is like searing hot to the touch.
Okay.
And if you have anxiety anyways, you've probably already felt a panic attack. You felt that level of anxiety and that fear, that restlessness where you're always like tapping something jittery, something like that. Imagine that times 1,000.
Okay.
So you cannot think, you can hardly breathe. And at this point, if you're getting to that anxious standpoint, you start tapping restlessly. So you're always like this, whether it's your hand, your leg, whatever. And then your body starts to ache. Everything starts to feel super tight, and then it contracts and lets go, contracts and lets go. And no matter how much you stretch, you can do whatever the fuck you want to. Nothing's going to change it unless you go and get your next fix. And all you're thinking about is that fix. But I'm certain of it. All you have is either you have no money, you have no way to get to wherever you're going, you have no one who's available, whatever it may be. And then you start getting nauseous. You can't eat food. You can't drink water, so now you're crazy dehydrated. You keep throwing up everything that you eat, if you do end up eating. And then everything just becomes this shitstorm. So you're anxious, you're panicking, your body is consistently tight, but you can't stop moving, which is making it worse. You can't sleep, which is the worst part of it all, I feel
It's gotta be.
Like, you're up for hours and hours and hours. You'll get like 20 minutes of rest finally, then you wake up and you're just fucked all over again.
Yo.
And it doesn't stop. And this doesn't stop for at least 3 days. And that's if you're genuinely trying to get off of it, or you don't have any option, like you're in jail, you whatever it is. Most likely in jail, or you're just stuck somewhere.
And what's the high like?
The high is euphoria. The high is, if you could imagine rose-colored glasses as a pill, that's what it is.
Okay.
Your body is calm, but you're excited, so you can still move, you can do whatever you want. You're smiling, you're warm inside. It's like you have this blanket of just happiness. Whatever's going on in your life, even if it's the worst thing ever, like your mom just died, you're losing your house, your car's broken, whatever. All these things are happening to you, you don't think about anything. You're just like, wow, everything is just beautiful right now. I will get through whatever I'm going through. It is A-okay. I'll be fine. And it's almost that ignorant bliss. Yeah. It's like you are not thinking about anything, but you're in this blissful, beautiful state. Like, when I did it, I was in a relationship with this person at the time, and it was terrible. I mean, he was beating the shit out of me. He was toxic. He was manipulative. He was a horrible person. And he made my life a living hell. And then I used the drug, and I sat there with him for 6 hours talking about how much I loved him and how happy I was. And every single thing I would never say sober.
Oh yeah, that's that good shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, oh you God. Had that good. That's that. Ooh wee.
Yeah.
Ooh wee.
Yeah. You're telling me.
And how long were you with this guy? Man.
Oh my God, under 2 years. A little under 2 years.
Jeez Louise, and how long? When? Okay. All right. Let's for just for context, let's slow down.
Yes.
When you met this person, did you have an inclination that they were kind of like this, or no? Not
at all. I met this person at the same place that I met you.
Oh, okay.
At a restaurant.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same one, but it was at a restaurant.
Yeah.
We were coworkers, and he was a friend of a friend, and so we hung out one day. We're all smoking weed, we're all hanging out, whatever, and I can't roll this backwood for the life of me. I'm like, fuck, I cannot do this.
Fucking backwoods, man.
I know, right? Ripping, the stem was messing me up. It was bad.
Smoking straight tree bark.
Literally. It was disgusting.
You backwoods smokers, man.
It was horrible, but that's why I only smoke J's now. It's amazing. Anyways, so I go to him, and I'm like, can you help me? And he helps me, and then we're just sitting and talking for hours. We're laughing, whatever. He's doing acid a week later, calling me. Out of nowhere, because I don't expect this at all. He calls me and he's like, hey, I just wanted to talk to you. I'm on acid. And I'm just sitting there painting, having the time of my life by myself. I just meditated. Everything's good. And then we just can't stop talking.
Yeah.
And then I go to, oh my God, I should have known at this point. Because this was the most disgusting thing I ever did. I don't know why I'm even saying this out loud. I went to a Days Inn. I went to a Days Inn.
Buddy, yeah.
And we were gonna hang out.
Right.
And obviously we all know where that went. Yeah. But it took until I got there at probably 7 or 8 p.m. and it took until 1 o'clock in the morning for that thing to happen.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that because obviously when you usually meet somebody in a hotel room, it's almost immediate. It takes like an hour.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. So we also now know we have plenty of experience in hotel rooms.
Oh yes.
Okay, but
I don't. That was my first time in a hotel room.
Okay.
But
gotcha.
I can only imagine. You
know,
well, yeah,
I mean that's kind of the thing, right? Like we're going to a hotel, like okay, now Days Inn could have did better, but all right.
It's depressing. I felt horrible. I walked in and I was like, do I really want to do this? And I thought about it like 6 times in my head, and I was like, fuck it, live life, and I just decided to go do it.
Right.
And I know every single time I say fuck it, I shouldn't do it, but I did it anyways. And so I go in. There's a pile of Coke on the table.
A pile.
Gotcha. A little mountain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't do this. Oh, God. And then there's a bottle of Jameson on the other side.
Oh, he's ready to go.
Yeah. The Xbox is plugged in.
Yeah. What's going on at this Days Inn? We got Coke, Jack, and Xbox. He's fitting to have a hell of a night.
He's happy. He's lit. I don't know what the fuck he's doing. He was there for a couple hours before I even got there. And so I walk in and I'm like, someone's ready to party. And then he says nothing. He chuckles slightly, but he says nothing.
Oh, yeah, Ada.
And so I'm asking questions. You know me, I talk. And so I'm asking questions about him. I'm like, so, like, what did you do for your last weekend? Like, how was your day? Like, what do you do? What's your, who are you, basically? I'm asking so many questions. I'm like, the only thing I know about you is you work at a restaurant, you like cocaine, you like Jameson, and there's an Xbox with 2K sitting right there. That's all I know.
Oh, man.
And so I'm like, okay, who the fuck are you? Like, what do you like? What's your passion? What are your interests? And I get nothing. When I mean nothing, I mean nothing. Like, I don't really know. A lot. This man is 26 years old, graduated college. He did all this other stuff that I heard from other people. Mm-hmm. He never told me that himself. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, music. Everyone likes music. And so I start finding music that I like. It's this YouTube show called The Color Show, or A Color Show. And it's a bunch of artists from not famous to super famous.
I've heard about this.
Yeah, they go in and they do like either an a cappella or a live version of a song.
Yeah.
Right? And so
this is like a cooler version of NPR's Tiny Desk?
Basically. Oh, yeah. Even though I love NPR Tiny Desk. Yeah. It's just a solo version of that, basically. And so I put on a random song. I don't even remember which one it was. And it was something that I'd been listening to for a while. And I'm like, okay, so what kind of music do you like? And he's like, I don't know. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I should leave.
Yeah. What the fuck is happening?
A lot of nothing.
This is very peculiar activity.
A hamster wheel is going on in my head, and it's like there's just crickets in the other side. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
It's just white noise.
Literally. I'm sitting there like freaking out because I'm like, how do I make this man talk to me? Like, at least express that you want to sleep with me, dude. For fuck's sake. Oh my God. You invited me here. Like,
yeah, that's what's so peculiar about it, because you would expect because you set the scene. You walked in, you're at a Days Inn. You walk in, there's Coke, there's Jack, there's Xbox. Like you said, someone's ready to party. It seems like he's ready to get lit, do whatever. But he's not even giving you
anything.
Any sort of like pursuing vibes
at all. It is the most depressing.
Is he just like playing Xbox like while you're talking to him? Oh shit.
And then he'll stop and he's sitting across from me. It's two beds. And so there's one on one side, one on the other, and he's sitting on one and I'm sitting on the other with all my stuff closest to the door. Because I'm like, I need to leave. And so I'm like, I've been here for 3 hours. Nothing has happened. The only thing he showed me, because I was like, okay, let's go through some songs. And he found one song, The Bloodiest by J-Rock. Okay. And it's a good song. I mean, I like the song. But still, that's the only song he had anything to say about. And it was like, yeah, I like this song. That's it. In the most monotonous voice. Yeah. We were just talking about the mundane. The mundane. Completely is the mundane as a human being.
I can't wait to see how this rolled into you guys having a relationship.
I know, right? And so I'm pathetically bored. And so I'm like, I'm here. There's nothing else for me to do. I'm going to have sex. I'm going to have sex today. I don't care. I'm just going to do it. And so I go and I'm like, okay, dude, I'm not playing this game. Like, I used to be an MMA fighter or some shit. Do you want to fight me or do you want to fuck me? Pick one. And so he
picked one.
He picked one, but it was play fighting. He was play fighting me. It was depressing. And that turned into him being able to get close enough to me to make a move.
Okay, because, you know, I mean, there's so much to be said about everything that's transpired, that did transpire, that's being divulged right now. But one thing can be said, which is he's clearly just in he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. No. Right? Like, everything about this, the Days Inn, the Coke, the Jack, like, there's a lot of shit going on right now. The Xbox in the middle of it all. Him sitting on the other bed. There's so much going on.
Seriously.
But the play fighting thing leading into it, I mean, this is a very peculiar story. This story is so unique. Like, this is a very unique story.
I didn't think I was ever going to be a part of that.
Very singular story.
I thought this was something that happened to kids in, like, high school.
Yeah.
You know, like, when you're losing your virginity and the guy's nervous and, like, both
Right.
y'all are like, oh, let's play for it. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's how it is. But this is a grown-ass man who cannot and will not make a move because, quote-unquote, he is too nervous. I asked him a question about it months later. I'm like, what was that? Why did you do that? And he's like, I was nervous. I didn't think you liked me. And I'm like, I pulled up to a Days Inn. I'm used to going to, like, 5-star hotels. I'm used to going to their goddamn apartment. I'm used to going somewhere and having a conversation with somebody and connecting with them and then sleeping with them because we like each other and there's charisma, there's chemistry.
But he wouldn't have known any of this because you guys weren't having any conversation to start with.
Oh, I was trying so hard. Like, you
really gave him, I mean, honestly, any guy listening to this is just like, wow. Like, you really just gave him a freebie. Like, this was a huge just layup.
Basically.
Honestly.
I was just sitting there and I'm like, I'm not just going to come here for nothing. I mean, fuck, dude. The least you're going to do is show me a decent time in bed. Like, if you can't show me conversation, you can't show me drugs that I enjoy. You can't, no, I'm playing. You can't show me anything.
So I see. All right, we're just gonna keep in line. We're gonna needle this thread of self-sabotage through this entire podcast episode and just see in different ways that it finds itself presented in stories and conversation.
It is so sad.
Okay, so that's how it started.
Yes, that's how it started.
And after that, you decided you would continue to call and answer text messages and get together with this guy.
I ignored him for a week. For one full week. He comes up to me at work one day and he's like, I really miss hanging out with you and I didn't get the chance to actually talk to you. And so I want to try again. And so me being the forgiving person that I am, I go out and I'm like, okay, cool. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's actually get to know each other. And so that's when I hear more about his person. I hear that he went to college. I hear that he got like a criminal psychology degree and all this other stuff. And that intrigues me because I'm like, okay, so who was that last week? Who was that person? And so he tells me that he was too nervous, blah, 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 all this other stuff. And he just wants to impress me because apparently I was an item at the restaurant that we were working at. And I don't really know why. I mean, I'm goddamn beautiful and I'm hilarious to be around, but it's just like, why? Like, what? I gave you every opportunity and you just chose to miss. You chose every opportunity to miss that, but whatever. So that turns into us actually having conversations. He gets on the phone with me and we're talking and things are cool. And then I'm like, okay, I mean, I actually think I really like you. And then I'm thinking about, do I really want to be in a relationship with this person? And so I'm seeing this like really happy side of him. I'm seeing this open, charismatic, having fun, going out type of person. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, this is something that seems like a cool little fling that we could have. Why not? And then a couple months down the road, we've been exclusive at this point. He told me he loved me, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to meet his parents. A week before that, I find out he's been cheating on me since basically 3 weeks after we got together. And so I'm heartbroken. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, how could you? I literally gave you every opportunity from day one, literally, to be this person that could quote unquote impress me, that could be a good asset in my life, support me, be a good person, whatever. Show me a good time for fuck's sake. And you decide to drop the ball so aggressively for what?
So aggressively.
So like it's like you took it and you
spiked
just, like,
the ball.
Like it's gone. And I'm like, why? Like just why? And so there's tears streaming down my face, but I'm screaming. Like I'm angry crying at this point. So I'm like, go fuck yourself, dude. I don't even want anything to do with you. And then his parents are texting me. His parents are calling me. They're like, give him another shot.
Oh,
give
what?
Him another
Yo,
shot.
hey, man. This is, all right, come on now.
Oh, no.
All right, come on, man.
Right.
Come on, what's going on here? Now the parents are brokering a deal.
It doesn't make any
what's
sense.
What's going on with
I don't know.
Okay, all right. So that's what we are on the story so far. Okay,
It's so weird. And then I forgive him for some reason, and then we keep going. And then while this is all happening, I decide I'm going to play a prank on him to make him see how he made me feel. And so I have my location on. I decide to share my location with him, and I go over to his best friend's house. And I'm just hanging out with the dude. Like, we're literally just chilling. And I told his best friend about all of this.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I'm so in on this. This is hilarious. So I go in. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Wow. He thinks I'm at home. And then he sees that I'm there. And his best friend and him live, like, right here. Right next to each other, basically. Right neighboring, like, homes. And so...
Adjacent.
Yeah,
yes.
Basically. And so he notices... But he doesn't notice until the next morning when he's leaving for work that my car is parked right in front of his house. And so he's calling me repeatedly. He's FaceTiming me. He's blowing up my phone, and I'm not responding at all.
Oh, God, no.
And so I'm friends with this guy's sister, his best friend. And so we're literally just hanging out. We're having some drinks. We're talking, whatever. I spend the night, and I wake up the next morning, and we're all dying laughing. And so I go over, and I see him. And I'm like, it didn't feel too good, did it? And then they both come out, and they're like, yeah, this was a joke the entire time. She didn't do shit. And he was crying. He was freaking out. He was, like, just heartbroken. And I'm like...
You all's relationship started off wild. Wild.
Understatement.
Super.
Understatement.
Tit for tat is what we're doing here.
Yes.
Okay, we're having love wars.
Yes. Yes, this is a vengeful relationship. And so that turns into the first instance of abuse. And that's when I realize I need to break up with him. Get back together. Break up. Get back together. Over and over again. It's these manipulative words that are just flowing through his mouth like he knows exactly what to do when he doesn't even know me that well. And so... Like, at the time, I knew a lot of manipulation tactics. I'd been in other manipulative situations before, and something about this just seemed so genuine to me. There were real tears, there was real anger, there was frustration, there was all this other stuff, and it's like I was in this la-la land, exactly where he wanted me to be, but I wasn't doing it well enough for him to be happy. And so consistently, it's like... I was going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to something I knew I didn't want anymore. But it just got worse and worse and worse. And all the good times didn't feel like good times. They just felt like, okay, finally, I can be calm today. And it was just repetitive over and over and over again. There was physical altercations with him. There was just manipulation through and through. And then he somehow coerces me into getting an apartment with him.
Right.
Because he's sleeping on a couch at his cousin's house.
Yes.
So he has no spot of his own. I have enough money to go. I have a good job. I'm good. I want to move out because I want to leave my parents' house. I do that. He comes along with me. And it was the worst 8 months of my entire life. It was terrible. He didn't pay the rent. He didn't pay any of the bills. The only time he did was twice. And so all of these lies, all this deception, all of this back and forth manipulation, he got everything he wanted from me, and I got nothing in return. Because he knew that I was going to take the slack for everything. I was going to take the financial slack. I was going to take the mental slack. I was going to take every single thing.
Fuck.
All in the name of love.
Right.
And so I knew that I was hurting myself. I was sitting there repeatedly like, I can't even sleep next to the dude at night anymore. Like, he won't let me sometimes. I wake him up and he's grabbing me by the waist and slamming me down back on the bed saying, no, you can't get comfortable. You cannot sleep if I can't sleep. That's not right. Over and over again. Yeah. And all because I decided to give somebody a chance over and over and over again. I was self-sabotaging because I wanted to give him another chance. And it broke me. I mean, that was the start of my addiction because I started using to feel good about being with this person, because every time I tried to leave, it's like he had a rope tied to my chest. He would rip me back.
Yeah.
Even if I was gone for a week, even if I was gone for a month, even if I was with somebody else, I decided to sleep with somebody else. He's like, I don't care. You're with me. If I can't have you, nobody can.
No, one of those deals. Those are the dangerous ones.
Mm-hmm. Every time. And so that turned into the police coming to our apartment because they hear that I was thrown into a wall and I was thrown into a tub. I almost cracked my skull. And that's bruises on my shoulders, bruises on my body. Everything is like, I literally look like I'm decaying as a human being. I'm shaking violently and I don't know what to do with myself. I'm like, I want to leave, but I can't. He won't let me. And so that turns into a restraining order. And then that turns into court hearings. That turns into just so much extra government-funded stuff that I'm still dealing with to this day. I mean, I still have to go to a court hearing and go sign paperwork, hear his testimony, get my evidence, do all this other stuff.
This wasn't that long ago, correct?
No,
like when did you get out of that? Someone tells me it's just like a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it's only been like a month or two.
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yes.
Oh, this just happened yesterday.
Basically. It might as well have just happened a couple hours ago is what it feels like.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
This is all stuff that is very recent. And so I'm still reaping the consequences of deciding to go to the Days Inn and continue this relationship with the cocaine.
I'm so sorry, but this fucking Days Inn thing is just crazy.
It is hilarious.
All right, now before one of the other things we had touched on a bunch of little small things before we hit this record button, but like I said, I remembered because one of the many reasons, maybe I should ask you first, why you decided to come. You said you'd never done a podcast before, but you had saw something I did on Snapchat.
I did.
And like all these videos I'm putting out. And, you said some very nice words to me. And clearly I was like, come get on, like, come talk.
Yes.
And so why did you decide to come do this? Do you think, or do you know, or was it just like, fuck it, like, I don't care, I don't know? It was
one of those things that, like, when your gut just tells you this is the right thing to do?
Yes.
It's just one of those things for me. Like, I only have fond memories of having conversation with you, recorded or not.
Yeah.
They were always something that I was able to do. I was able to just freely speak and feel so comfortable and calm and, like, even if he doesn't know what the fuck I'm going through, he's gonna pretend, or he's gonna act like it, and he's gonna have some good shit to say with it.
Yeah.
And so being on a podcast with somebody that I get along with so well, I'm comfortable with already. And it's a new venture and a new chapter of my life. Why not start it this way?
Yeah, that's for certain. I had no idea what was coming.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Not exactly, but I knew. But I'm a
mysterious person when it comes to my life.
You're right. Like, there's certainly which is hilarious, right? It's ironic because you also, to some degree, an open book. Like you speak. You articulate whatever is going on, however you feel it at the time. But there's still, even with everything you're saying, there's still so many layers to all the things you've talked about that I won't know about, that the people that are listening to this won't know about, which does create a certain mystique about you, right? Like, what is really going on with Ada? Like, what's going on in her mind? And that's why I decided I was going to reach out, because I was like, if there's one thing I remember, like I told you before, it's that... You were most certainly not in any sort of way any of the conventional types that I had ever been around. In any sort of way, you probably wouldn't even ever want to be called conventional. No. Like you said, it sounds mundane, it sounds boring. Now,
oh no.
And I'm certain that idea for you, living like you're going to be living once, trying to live sometimes on the edge, a little too close to the edge, sometimes you fall off the edge, right? But trying to live for that vivacity of life. I'm certain it's giving you a lot of cool shit.
Oh yeah.
And you've seen and you had some great experiences with people. And it's sort of like, it's a gamble. Because then you find yourself at the Days Inn sometimes. So how are you dealing with this love for just going for whatever your gut's telling you at the moment, and just understanding that it could go either
One of
way?
two ways. Honestly, it's exciting.
Okay.
It is incredibly exciting
Okay,
for me.
I
It
thought.
is one of those things that I'm just like, you know what? Wherever life wants to take me, I'm ready for the ride.
Okay.
Because no matter what it is, I mean, I've experienced, God knows, a great deal of trauma. I've experienced a great deal of horrors, heartbreak, pain, suffering, and just this horrible, dejected feeling in life. But every single time I come out of that and I experience the most beautiful life I've ever lived. Every single time I come back from whatever terrible, terrible things that I've experienced, and I feel that much stronger. I feel that much happier. I learned so much more about me and my psyche that it's worth it. It's worth almost dying. It's worth getting thrown around an apartment. It's worth doing drugs that I didn't ever want to do.
Yeah.
It's worth all of it. Because that point of happiness will not beat anything. Ever.
Yeah, I've read recently that successful people are successful to the degree in which they have failed. Because that's the only way that you could ever surmount the things that you would need to, those achievements, to be that successful person is, well, you had to learn how to do it. Well, how'd you learn how to do it? Well, because you failed.
Exactly.
You
it's
had
like that
to.
age-long quote, like you won't understand the sunshine if you've never seen the darkness. Because, I mean, there's not one without the other. There's no life without death. There's no beauty without pain. There's just, you have to have the opposite. And in my life, I feel like it's always been, oddly enough, I'm a Libra, and that's the scales. And so there's always been that balance between happy moments, sad moments, struggle, and chill, sympathy, relaxed, all of that. Going through it is obviously terrible. It is stressful, it is scary, and it is hard. And a lot of the time, I have wanted to just give up.
Yeah.
But then I think about it. I have a meditation, and I just see all this beauty that is waiting for me on the other side of this path. And I'm like, okay, fuck it. I'll walk on the eggshell some more. I'll walk on the broken glass a little bit more. I'll get to the door, and y'all are bandaged. You're gonna bandage my fucking feet up, and I will keep walking, and it'll feel great.
So what? Yeah. So what is the main thing that you do in order to try to balance the scales or bring yourself back to some sense of serenity or just clarity? Like, is it?
Your viewers are gonna hate this. It's meditation.
They're gonna hate this. No, that's funny. Okay. Well, look. How did this come about? What do you do? What's it look like for you?
For me, it's a lot of just enjoying the little things.
Okay.
Something for me that I really, really love that's always brought some semblance of peace in every moment of my life is either going out when it's a full moon or going out in the peak sunshine.
Okay.
And I don't know what it does to me or my body or my spirit, but it literally makes me feel whole again. And I'll just sit there and I'll breathe and I'll meditate and I'll just be in this beautiful little world that I created in my head. I'll talk to my spirit guides, I'll lucid dream, I'll do all this other stuff, all spiritual, and it'll just bring me back to one, regardless of what I'm going through. I'll be able to just come back to myself and be this blissfully calm, happy, just excited person all over again. And I'll know no matter what I went through, it doesn't mean that's going to be the rest of my life. No one is ever going to live a life of just misery. Right. And I know I'm never going to live a life of just misery because I'm determined to be happy one way or another. I wrote this in a poem actually because I go to these recovery centers, I guess. I go to a recovery center called Recovery Unplugged. It's a music-based therapy program for people who have been through addiction, any type of abuse, really, especially self-inflicted. And I actually want to read it. So
yeah, for sure. When you say that this is music-based,
yes.
what do they do there?
So it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of, getting deep into your psyche, but a lot of it is like calm through music. Don't fear because music is going to make sure that you are going to be okay. No matter what it is, there's a song for what you're going through. or there's a note that will help you. There is an instrument that you can play. There is going to be something that'll make you feel free again. And that's always been something that I felt.
So they just have like instruments around, or that people can just pick up and play?
Yeah.
And
yeah, there's an electric guitar, there's a bass, there's a drum kit, and in the main room, that's where all of this is. And it's all like a soundproof room. Where
oh shit, I've never heard of anything like this before.
It's amazing. It's what is it called? There's a bunch of chairs, and then there's like a main person, and that's like the therapist of the day, whoever's leading a group, and we're all just talking. We have like open mic nights every week, and so your therapist or whoever it is going to assign you something. Mine assigned me a letter to my addiction, and this was more than one addiction. So I wrote it about both this relationship and the substance, because they went hand in hand.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what I want to read. It was intense. I mean, I had a song that went with it, and then the next letter was the last time I felt true joy. And then the song that I picked for that was Jackie Onassis by Sammy Ray and the Friends. It's partially country, jazz-ish. It's not something I would usually listen to, but it literally feels like joy in a song for me. And so we get to play the song, we get to share what we're sharing, and then we just talk and we hang out. It's like being in a room full of a bunch of people that went through the same shit that you did in one way or another.
Right.
But you all can connect on one thing, that music has always been there for you and it's never going to leave you. And so if you don't see any other reason to move on, you don't see any other reason to do better, choose music.
Wow, that's really cool. I've never heard. I mean, clearly I've heard of rehab before, and
of course.
And I've heard of the 12 steps, and making amends and taking accountability and all these sort of things. But I've never heard of it just being music based, like that being the infrastructure for it all, like coming back to music. And I it completely makes sense.
Yeah,
I completely get that. There are all types of songs where like you're choosing songs every day, like whoever, again, maybe listening to this, if you're in your car, you're picking songs, you're at the gym, you're picking songs, like these are songs that you're picking, and it's because there's something in the song, especially if you know the songs you're picking, like you're not just picking songs at random. These are songs that are calling out to you, right? Like they resonate with you, and you know that you're going to this song for a certain note, or for a certain instrument, or for a certain lyric, or something, or maybe just like there's an inflection of the singer's tone, or something. Like there's something that you're looking for.
Exactly.
So that's very interesting.
And it sparks an emotion within you.
Yeah.
Whether or not you want to believe that music can do that, because I know plenty of people that are like, no, I just listen to it because it's music. It's fun to listen to. But why is it fun?
Wait a minute. You've had people tell you that they like music and they listen to it, but that they derive no feeling from it at all. Like it just plays. Like it's just again white noise. Like it just. That's just silly. Right? It's silly because that person just hasn't thought it through enough yet. Like they just haven't processed what's going on, because you don't just like it for no reason.
Exactly. It evokes an emotion within you. It makes you feel something, whether you want to admit it or not.
Yeah, that's a silly thing to say.
Like it makes you feel something. Any song, like I have literally 1,000 songs I can think of right now that evoke such strong emotion in me that it'll change my whole day.
Right.
Like what a wonderful world.
Oh, that's so funny that you said that, because when you were saying this other song that sounds like joy in a song, I was like, Louis Armstrong, What a Wonderful World is one of those. Yeah,
but that's the opposite for me for some reason. That song makes me sob. It makes me break down into tears and cry. And it's just because it's a song that my family used to listen to all the time. My father loved that song. That reminds me of being back in Toronto. It reminds me of having a happy family. It reminds me of being at peace with everything around my life and just being blissfully young. Yeah. Being a child. And knowing that I'm never going to receive that again, I think is the reason why it makes me cry so hard. But it's such a good feeling every time I listen to it. It's like I'm shedding a new layer of skin, almost.
Wow.
It's beautiful to me. I don't know why, but it is.
You have read me one other thing before a long time ago. I did. But I'm ready for this. Okay. I was going to make a comment about that, but go ahead. I'm ready for this.
Okay, so this is the letter to my addiction, and I curse a lot in my poetry. It's just something that I do. It's not basic poetry.
I don't think that it's going to surprise anyone that's been listening to this point
at all. But dear, whatever the fuck your name is, thank you. Thank you for giving me the best and the worst 2 years of my life. The best in the ways you'd waltz me around my apartment or an empty parking lot in a blanket of warmth, no matter the temperature. The way you'd kiss me and tell me you'll always be there to lean on whenever I needed you. The way no matter what you showed me that comfort can live in the worst, scariest of situations. For giving me a new devil to fall in love with. I can't forgive you for the sleepless nights, for the writhing in bed and the losing myself in you, the endless anxiety and the fear of ever being without you, counting each pill like they're the last days I have on this earth. You showed me that I can change, and for the worse. I can become deceitful, I can become a liar, manipulative, and selfish. You showed me that every single demon, every devil, every single dark part of me can only be loved when there's something to subdue the pain. But without you, I'm nothing. I'm everything I've ever hated and everything you've ever loved. I'm anxiety, I'm heartbreak, I'm sadness, and I'm anger. I'm disappointment and bitterness. Without you, I've hurt so much, but in the best way. You've brought me nothing but my deepest, darkest fears, and I've let you every single time in the name of love, or in the name of comfort, in the name of numbness. I used to ask myself what would hurt worse, being numb or feeling everything, and at this point, the latter is the most beautiful chaos I've ever endured. I can only ask that while you're sitting outside of my room or my car doing push-ups, waiting for me to send a message or break into tears, don't try to comfort me. You've done enough damage. Your comfort is a hug laced with thorns. Your comfort is a satin-laced coffin. And I'm not ready to die just yet, motherfucker, so while you're out there doing what you do and swirling through my mind like a sandstorm, I hope my forgetting you will finally bring you to your next victim, not me. I'm sure that's a dream I can't really believe in, but I'm going to treat you like a bad breakup. Watch me do better and want me back tenfold while I laugh in your faces, watching you wither away in your own desperate self-pity. You love company, so you nameless shadow I've loved and lost, I'm going to call you misery. I hope the next time I get to see you, it's easier to wave goodbye.
Hope the next time I see you, it's easier to say wave goodbye. I'm going to call you misery. So outside of these people at this musical rehab facility, who are what's the energy of the people frequently in your life carrying, and is your misery dragging in company like it, or it? Whoa, hold on a second. You're answering the question way too fast.
I'm sorry.
Hold on a second. so who are you attracted to? Like what sort of people do you find yourself attracted to?
People that intrigue me.
Okay.
In any sense of the term.
I was about to say, that's a very wide range. Yes. I'm certain of it.
In any sense of the term. Anyone that sparks interest. Anyone that I cannot quite understand. Somebody that I can totally see through and I'm like, okay, I get you. Like, I don't even have to talk to you more than twice to kind of understand what kind of person you are. Bore me to death. I like people that I can't understand.
Okay.
And it's something that has fucked me up, but brought me such beautiful relationships at the same time. Because complex people are they're ever changing. You cannot pinpoint one personality to that person. My friends and I used to make playlists for each other all the time, but we would have to remake the playlist like every couple of months, every year, every like whatever.
Right.
Anytime, like, because we would change so frequently.
Yeah.
And through this, I reconnected with my best friend because I lost her for a really long time. We didn't speak to each other because of said relationship. And because, you know, isolation is one of the main tactics in abusive relationships. So I wasn't around anybody, but I finally got reconnected with her. And we both are so different than we were when we stopped talking to each other.
Yeah.
It is beautiful to see that change. And I think that's what attracted me to Mr. Days In. That's what we're going to call him today. So he was so quiet. He was closed. He was shut off. And I was like, open the fucking doors, dude.
Yeah.
Open the door. I want to see it. But he would not let me.
Yeah.
And the minute he let me, I was like, I have to see everything. I will not see that. I have to see this through. Like, I can't say no.
Right.
And it was just because every single week it was a different face. Every month I would see a different side of this person. And I was like, are you consistently going to change?
Yeah.
When are you ever going to be like, when are you going to plateau in this like version of yourself?
Yeah.
When are you going to be actually happy with whatever is going on in your life and be able to like just smooth sail through that? But that never happened.
And that intrigued you, though.
It changed my entire perspective on relationships. Because I was like, that's not okay. Like, that kind of person is, like, in his case at least, is scary. And that's not a relationship that people can have successfully. Because if that person is ever changing in a negative way and will never see something good about themselves, then you're never going to be happy in that relationship either. You're just going to be the happiness that they're draining out of you. You're going to be this energy, and they're the vampire. They're going to take it from you. And it's just going to hurt you. But the people that can change and at least experience happiness throughout these changes, even if they're unhappy, they're depressed, they're scared, whatever, if they can still experience moments of joy, that's the kind of person that I need to be around.
Right, because that's the point I was sort of getting to. You're talking, you're saying in this letter that this entity has taught you that you can be a lot of nasty things that you don't want to be, but that you have the capacity to be those things. Exactly. Which the antithesis would show you that you also have the capacity to be the contrary. You know,
you can be the complete opposite
to these things. And I think it should go without saying that there should be practices involved, or whether you're conscious of it or not, you're practicing something. And it's either, speaking of Xbox, I was telling this to my friend the other day, is that there was a game that came out when Xbox first came out, and it was called Fable.
Yes, I remember it.
You could run around your sword, shield, or whatever. And I think, as far as I can remember, it was the first game where you could go and make your own decisions and be your own person. And you could run around town and help people out and take a bunch of little side jobs and missions and go rescue people and be a good person. At what point you would collect all these like good points, and you would have a halo that formed over your head at some point if you collected enough. Yeah. And you could run around and just kill people and do all those sorts of, and steal from people.
Exactly. You could be
and
the exact
then you would
opposite.
end up like growing horns and like these little wings and shit like that. The point is that as you are making decisions throughout your life, day to day, you're feeding something.
Exactly.
You're feeding some part of yourself by all these decisions that you're making. You could be aware of some of them, not aware of other ones, but it's happening with every decision that you're making, which goes into the intention, being deliberate about those decisions that you're making. So you know what you're feeding, what you're nourishing, what you're encouraging, what you're trying to stave off and run away from. And one of these things that would be very, very important, I think a lot of people would agree, is the people that you're surrounding yourselves with.
Definitely.
And how you're choosing to spend your time around them. So when I think about that, I'm just like, so Ada, who you hanging out with? Like, what's going on over there? Like, what do they got going on?
The people around me at this point are amazing. The people around me are all these artistic, deep, fucked up but beautiful people. They've gone through hell, but they've come out so much stronger, and they see beauty in everything. Like, they're the type of people you can sit around with and like just shit on random stuff, but you can also have deep, meaningful, beautiful conversations with them. And they're just not really negative. And that's the kind of people that I need to be around. That's the kind of person that I claim to be. So that's the kind of person I want to be. And so I need to re-nourish that side of myself, because I was surrounded by one person. One negative, dark, sad, deceitful, manipulative person. Someone who couldn't control their emotions. someone who couldn't understand themselves, and someone who was so frustrated with not being happy with themselves that it transformed into violence.
This being as recent as it was for you, what percentage, even if it's like 1%, 2%, like is there a tinge of like you missing some of this comfort that you said that you can find in malevolence, in the distraught era that you were in? Like, is there something that does miss?
Of course.
The abuse.
Of course.
Wow.
There is a small part of me, and I like to beat the shit out of her every day, but there is always going to be a small part of me that misses the chaos. That misses the chaos. The violence, the darkness of the entire thing. It was beautiful, but it was horrible for me. So it brought me to a terrible place, but at the same time, that little tiny part of me that enjoyed it is still like this little parasite going through my brain every now and again.
Yeah.
And all I can think about is she'll experience it again one day. Hopefully not that bad, but she's going to experience it again. And I'm just going to let her do her thing in here, because I'm not going to be that person that repeats the same mistake twice. I refuse to put myself into a place that I've already experienced. I miss it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to go back to it.
Right.
I'm choosing to go back to a part of myself that deserves nourishing and deserves care and deserves love. But that chaos was definitely something that I can say I missed. Because I never knew what the hell I was going to do. I never knew where I was going to get the rest of the rent money. I never knew where I was going to end up that day, if I was going to be like halfway up in Maryland or if I was going to be down near Front Royal. I didn't know what I was going to do.
Wow.
I didn't know if the cops were going to find me. I didn't know if something was going to happen to me. And some sick little part of me was like, this is fun. But I think it's only because it was so unknown. Yeah. And I think we've talked about this before. It may have been a long time ago, but I used to say I'm a lover of the unknown. I'm somebody who is so intrigued by the unknown, whether it's in life, in people, in movies, in books, whatever. I'm the kind of person that, like, don't show me the entire trailer of a movie before I go see it. Okay. I want to be surprised. Yeah. And that translated into my life.
Because we went to a movie together.
We did,
and
The Photograph.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
I love that movie, too. And I loved it even more because I didn't know what the hell was going to happen.
You just popped up in there. It was like, all you said was, I just hope that this isn't a corny romance.
Exactly. Yeah. And it wasn't. It was honestly really
they did
great.
a good job.
It was very deep.
Issa Rae, Lakeith Stanfield. Yeah, that was one of the better ones.
They're two of my favorite actors.
Yeah, they're good.
I love them. Have you seen Insecure?
Yeah, God, for sure.
I'm rewatching it for the third time right now. Ooh. I love this show so much. And Atlanta. Lakeith Stanfield.
Yes. I did hear that the third season's coming out soon. It's like March, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's
going to be in March.
Yeah.
It's so good. But yeah, like I was saying, just the unknown was the part of it that always wanted, like, I always craved more of it.
You like adventure.
I do.
You like adventure.
I do. Even if it's a sick, fucked up, detrimental.
I was about to say, horrible, like, there are other ways of having adventure.
Of course.
And that's so funny.
I'm really hoping the next time I go on an adventure, it's not going to be one that could cost me my life.
Right.
But I also realized that even in the happiest moments, I could lose my life. So I'm not going to feel
that's
too much
very
of
true.
That.
That's very, very true.
I mean, shoot, I was on my way to Qatar with my family, and there was something wrong with the plane at some point, and so we had to do a crash landing, and I was smiling the whole way through. I was like, this is so exciting. I was like 9 or 10 years old, and like everyone else was praying, crying, screaming, whatever, and I was just like, woo.
Yeah, I feel like your level, like the level of excitement that you have been fed through all of these wildly chaotic moments, they give you a certain fix. Now again, you were having fentanyl, so you can't have anything that's like less than fentanyl, right? Because it's not doing the same thing. Yeah. So I could easily see why there's a bit of you that would still like to go back to this abusive, chaotic thing, and why you could still see yourself falling into some of these things, which is why you say the self-sabotage continues to manifest itself. You beat it down. You don't know why it's back up. I think, yeah, you just have like this, because just regular excitement, like a regular level of excitement for just,
I don't know what that means.
Exactly. For just like regularly excitable things that people go through. It just isn't quite it. No. Is not quite it.
But I've always wanted to have a surprise party. That's something.
Okay.
That is always something that's very like.
All right. Really surprise party.
Always wanted one of those.
Okay.
But, there's something that's, I don't know what the universe is trying to teach me in this lifetime, but it's so chaotic. It has been ever since I got to America, basically.
Right.
Even before that, I mean, the spider tattoo I have right here, it's because I had like a bug friend growing up. A black widow spider with 2 broken legs would always crawl into my apartment when I lived with my family in Toronto. And I don't know why I loved that little motherfucker so much. He was so cute. He was like this big. I hate spiders now. Like, I don't want to touch one, and I will probably kill one if I have to, but I just, no. I don't know what it was. I was like 3 or 4 years old. It's probably one of my earliest memories.
Yeah.
I had this like pretty white dress on, and there was a spider sitting right on my leg, and I was just talking to it. I don't know why.
See, well, this was clearly before fear had taken you over, as it does most human beings.
Definitely.
Like, you were just open to having a little friend.
Yeah.
You didn't know that it, like, what sort of harm it could do to you or anything like that. You're just like, yeah, sure, I got nobody else to talk to.
Exactly. I was just chilling with this little bug on my leg, and that's basically how I feel all of my abusive, toxic, or chaotic relationships have been. I'm looking at it and thinking, oh, it's just normal, but it could kill me. And every time I have to get away from it. So I eventually will.
Yeah.
But it's either going to be, I'm going to realize it and I'm going to run away because I'm like, oh my God, get this off of me. Or I'm like, just leaving it without a second thought. And it's circumstances, it's life, it's whatever. And I'm just like, gone. Yeah,
you bred sort of like fucking Bane said on The Dark Knight. Like, you've been bred and molded by the darkness. Exactly. So it's like, so going to a Days Inn and seeing a pile of Coke and Jack is like, for you, it's just like, it's Friday night.
Basically. Like, at one point in my life, 100%. And if I ever walk in on something like that again, regardless of the hotel room, I'm just going to look at it and walk away. I know exactly what's going to happen. So that's the best part, I feel like, about going through all of these chaotic, fucked up, terrible things. Yeah. I have a new set of itinerary in my brain. I have a new set of something. There
is something very interesting, which is why you say all these friends of yours are just like incredibly fucked up in the sense that they've just gone through, like, just have stories. Just absolutely wild stories with I mean, just the craziest of plot twists and turns and ups and downs and loop-de-loops. And there's something to that when it comes to people and like the interest level of people. It's just like when somebody's just gone through a ton of shit, there's just a different walk. Yeah, there's just a different walk. They're navigating this earth differently. Like, they're just walking around differently.
Imagine if there was me, but without all of the chaos. Imagine how boring that would be. If you can.
Well, I don't even know what that. Exactly. I said you've been molded, but I don't even know what that is because I'm thinking. Exactly. I'm thinking, okay, like, she may still want to write poetry and paint, but what would the poetry be? What would the paintings be? Exactly. What would your conversation be? Exactly. I mean, and that's not to say that, like, you wouldn't be a pleasant person. We just have no idea. We just have no idea what you'd be doing.
I feel like I'd be incredibly shallow.
Oh, you think so?
I feel like I would be very surface level.
Like shallow in that sense. Yeah. No, okay.
I wouldn't be like, oh, you're ugly because you're wearing that. I'd be like, I have no depth to my person almost, because I can't even think. Like, I started writing because I wanted to kill myself as a child. Right. Like, I was suicidal as like a 10-year-old or a 13-year-old or something.
And most of that had to do with the bullying and
family stuff.
Family stuff. Okay.
It was just familial stuff. Not ever, going through things, having messed up stuff happen to me as a child, stuff like that.
Someone just told me a story the other day about their sister. About their sister coming out to their family, and these are one of these moments. That's why, like, I'm still going, like, my mind's still going through this fucking, like, these ripple effects of this earthquake. because I was just told that their sister had come out. Like, they're older now, but when she did, when they were much younger, she came out. She was having a panic attack. She said, "I feel like I'm about to fucking die. I got it. I'm about to burst. I have to tell you guys something." Mm-hmm. This sibling had already known. They're like, "Of course, you're a lesbian." Like, I could have told. Like, I knew that, but I just never said anything. Mm-hmm. But the parents, one of them more so was just deeply religious. Mm-hmm. The other one kind of, whatever, I don't know. They've never really thought it through, but they still thought it was the worst thing that ever happened.
Of course.
And I mean, this person, for all intents and purposes, tried to perform an exorcism on his daughter. Like, tried to get this fucking lesbian evil spirit out of her by praying and thumping the Bible and all sorts of shit like that. And then it just came to a point where I guess they just was just like, all right, fuck it. I guess our daughter's just lesbian. Mm-hmm. But there was never any talk after that. Like it just nothing. They made a huge ruckus about it for like a month. Like it was just like they were sad, and they were like the parents were going through it. Like they're sad, they're praying to God, like they're doing a bunch of shit. But then after that, it's just like, all right, fuck it, like whatever. And then, but there was never any talk about the fact that the reaction was like that.
Yep.
Or anything. Mm-hmm. Like they just all continued living.
Brush it off.
And this person told me this like it was like in the most nonchalant manner.
Exactly.
And I'm like, what are you talking about right now?
Mm-hmm. See, when you live with people that are like that and you grow up with people like that, I can say from experience, you just learn to normalize some stuff.
That's
and every single bit of chaos and trauma and all this stuff that's not normal to people is just like, oh, it's Tuesday. Whatever. Like, I remember the first time I was ever, like, abused by somebody, like, by a significant other. The first time he literally, like, punched me in the face. Wow. I remember that vividly. And I remember talking to a friend, and I'm like, yeah, he hit me, no big deal.
Right.
I didn't think anything of it. I was like, yeah, it fucked me up for God knows how long. I was crying. I was a mess. I couldn't think straight. I was scared. I couldn't sleep at night. And then, like, not even a week later, I'm talking to somebody about it, and this is a close friend, and I'm like, yeah, he just hit me, you know, we got into an argument, and he just clocked me straight in the face, that's why I still have a black eye, my bad. And that was it. Right. It was like nothing ever happened. Yeah. All of it was gone, and then I thought about it, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with that's not normal. Yeah. That is not normal.
So that so that realization didn't come from the response that the person you were telling gave you.
It was from hearing myself.
See, so what do you remember what that person really had to say, or did they have anything to say?
Yeah, they were like, you're crazy.
Oh, okay.
They verbatim. This is a best friend of mine at the time, and she was like, you're nuts. Yeah. You are, Ada, think about this, please. Yeah. Like, take a second. I get it. You've normalized a lot of stuff in your life, but just go back a little bit. Like, let's rewind the tape. Yeah. And re-listen. Like, what if I said that to you? Right. How would you respond? Yeah. Right? And that's when it clicked. I was like, okay, damn, I was abused. And that's not to say that wasn't like, that was a traumatic event. That wasn't just something that happens. Because I just normalized it. I normalized being hit. I normalized being screamed at. I normalized feeling delusional and like just completely gone mentally. Yeah. Always in a state of like dissonance almost. And it's just, I was living in the term cognitive dissonance. I was not thinking about anything, and I let myself live in that. And that's something the brain does to protect you, yes, but I was choosing to live in that so I wouldn't have to face it, because the family thing was forget it, move on. Right, exactly, which is the exact same thing that all these other people are doing that we're talking about. Exactly. Is they're trying their very best to protect their psyche, and the best way they can do that is just hide it. Forget it, move on. Repress. We're done. Mm-hmm. Like that didn't really happen. Like that's not real. Yeah. Or even if it is real, whatever, it happened. I'm not gonna think about it. Yo. I'm trying. It's I mean I've again, I think a lot of this was conditioned as a child. I think a lot of this is my nature, but I try my best to get as close to truth in every moment as I possibly can. So it's just, and I guess since we're talking about normalizing things,
I forget just how courageous that is. I forget how brave it is for me to be looking at everything in the face.
Definitely.
And I forget. Definitely. I forget that, and I forget that people are just completely just terrified and paralyzed of dealing with anything remotely true or real. That's so sad, man.
Yeah,
that's
to be
so
somebody
sad.
that lives like that is few and far between. You don't see people like that.
That's so fucking crazy to me.
I still try to live in truth because my brain is conditioned to not do that. My brain is conditioned to live in something that is easy for me to live in because of everything else it's dealt with. It's like we have so many dark spaces in here, we don't know where the light's going to come from. You have to focus on that and not think about anything else, especially because the way I've been conditioned growing up, of course, but like being able to just live and just be truthful in every walk of life and every step that you take is very, very different. That is not something people do.
Yeah.
And that's not, I wouldn't even call it bravery or courageousness. There has to be a new word to make up for something like that. Because imagining going through something as serious as abuse or something as serious as drug addiction or seeing people die or being almost killed or all this other stuff that I've dealt with, I don't know how I would have survived if I didn't shut off my brain for a little while. Every now and again, at least. Because at first, I mean, I was younger, I would kind of just take things head on. I'd be like, okay, this happened. Fuck, that really hurt. Okay, move on. And I would let myself deal with it, and then I would move on. I would write about it, I'd cry about it, I'd paint about it, whatever. And I would express that in some way, but there was a time in my life where my brain was like, okay, you just need to stop. Like, this is too much for you right now, and if you feel all of this, I don't know what's going to happen to you.
You're right.
And so it had to be shut down. And being able to live like that, like just face everything is intense.
Yeah.
It's intense.
Yeah, I guess, that's very true. Again, we're all built differently, and sometimes you need the space, you need like all the things that it takes to truly feel things and process them. Like you need space, you need time, you need support. You just need the mental faculties. Like there's there's a lot that goes into it. Like you can't just take everything on. I read this stat the other day about like 40 million people are in modern day slavery. Yeah. Especially like the sex slave industry is like it's crazy. It's just like a wildly lucrative business that's just going on at all points in time. Of course, yeah. And and it makes me also think that in correlation with Viktor E. Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, is this guy that was put in a Nazi death camp. Yep. And he's sitting there and he's observing everything that's going on, like the hierarchy of the inmates and the way that certain inmates are like assholes to other inmates. And it's like, dude, what are you like, bro? We're all here.
We're wearing the same clothes.
We're all in here. At any moment we could be walked into this furnace. Exactly. We've seen plenty of our friends get walked into these furnaces and die. Like, what are you doing being an asshole to me? Like, like it's just crazy.
It doesn't make any sense.
And then you see, and clearly a lot of the soldiers were dickheads, but then some of the soldiers that were just, they were soldiers because they were put in a predicament, and it was like, what am I going to do? Say no? I'm not going to be one? Then what happens to me and my family? Yeah. So you see them being nice to some of the inmates and trying to help them out and allow them to go and have time together to sing and dance and tell stories together. And it's really just this book about what the human mind is capable of and trying to find meaning in what it is you're talking about in this poem of just the worst of situations you could fathom. Just the absolute worst. You were just taken out of the whole life that you knew with your loved ones and your job, your career, all this meaning, and you were just dropped in this camp. And at any moment you could just be killed. Exactly. Just because.
Just because.
And that's just absolutely wild. But this guy that wrote this book about his time there, because clearly he got out, but to write this book about what human beings are capable of and how you can find meaning in the darkest of times. And then you just think about your life, and you're like, all right, well, listen, I was never in the Nazi death camp. So like I never experienced that. Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, there's some other things that maybe I shouldn't let.
It makes you think, though. It makes you think of all the times that you've been in places where you felt like it was your personal death camp.
Yeah, yeah.
And what you did to survive that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I can't even count on both of my hands the amount of times that I was sitting in this miserable state, wearing probably just a big t-shirt and some socks in my empty apartment with someone screaming at me in one ear, and I just have drugs right in front of me, and I'm not thinking about it. I'm like, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. Just smoke. I'll be okay.
Right.
And just forgetting about everything and then being able to sleep at night.
Yeah.
And then being able to live with somebody that scared me so bad.
Yeah.
Every single night, sleeping next to this person, sleeping on top of this person, sleeping with this person.
Yeah.
And the things that my brain had to do to survive those moments. Yeah. It's astonishing. Like, I pat myself on the back for that every day now because I'm like, holy shit, dude, you made it.
Yeah, that is, I mean, that is cognitive dissonance. That is the exact opposite of harmony in one's mind. Like it is just straight survival. It's straight survival, and it's cacophonous because you clearly have to be having combating ideas.
Oh yeah.
Of, okay, I'm here right now, but I shouldn't be here right now.
I don't want to be here right now.
And I don't truly love and care for this person. Like I can't, not truly.
No.
But yet I'm here and I'm housing them and I'm feeding them. And
I might as well have been bathing them. I might as well have been clothing them.
Yeah.
Letting them take my phone and my car to go make money. Letting them do whatever they wanted. To me, from me, for me.
Right, yeah.
Just because that is going to put a smile on this person's face.
Yeah, that's a very,
miserable existence.
It's a very interesting place to be.
It's miserable, but it's like looking back on it, I'm surprised. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised I made it out the way that I did.
Yeah.
Because I spent a lot of my time trying to make it happy. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, just forgetting, oh, he just hit me, whatever. Let's just sit down on the couch and watch some TV and like talk. And just completely ignoring all of that. Letting him come up on me, letting him hold me from behind while I'm cooking and tell me how much he loves me and like kiss my head and all this other stuff. All the while, in my heart, I'm shaking and I'm terrified.
Right.
I don't want to be there, but I'm letting myself be there because I want to make this person happy. I am determined to make the best of this situation and see every possible outcome through, except death, of course.
Do you see yourself trying to help or fix people often in life? Has that been something common for you, or
kind of?
Okay.
So I can count 2 times that I've done that before.
Okay.
One time was my sister, and the other time was him.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And every other time had been, you know, I was thinking about it, and I was like, I don't need to fix nobody, and I would just kind of talk myself out of it and just be a support for that person. And be like, yeah, you can, you know, I'll loan you this much money if you need it. I'll help you with this. I'll do that, whatever. But I genuinely never wanted to fix anybody unless it was my sister or him. And I don't know what it was that made me want to do that for either of them. Because for both of them, I had this strong love-hate relationship. Like, I resented the living shit out of both of them. But I loved them to a fault. And so every part of me was like, I just want you to be happy. I don't even want to fix you. I just want you to be happy. What do I have to do that? But I was proving to myself that I can't do that. I can't, because that's me trying to fix them. I don't want to fix them, but I'm subconsciously doing that by doing all this stuff for them and pushing them to this place that they're not choosing to be in. Yeah. Because if they wanted to be in that place and make those moves, they would do it. Yeah. But I just consistently told myself,
or at least be asking. You would see something. You would see something.
Drive, motivation, anything.
Yeah, something. You know? They may not have all the faculties, like all the tools to be able to pull it off, but you'd see something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there was few times that I actually saw something.
Yeah.
In at least this one person. My sister, I can say she's completely different than she used to be. She's actually driven. She has a career now. She's happy, whatever. But at the time, this was a couple years ago, she was not trying to do that. She was kind of doing the same thing I was, but a little bit worse, where she was willing to risk her family. She was willing to risk her life and everything that she worked for because of drugs, because she was upset, because of whatever it was. And I just wanted to, like, take that parasite out of her head, but I spent so much time putting myself at risk for that. But I had to tell myself at some point, she's going to do that on her own.
Yeah.
You cannot force her to do that. And I had to do the same thing with him. Like, I can't make him be successful. I can't make him hold a job. I can't, like, it's not that I'm not good enough for him. It's that he does not want to do that just yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no matter what I try to do, it's not going to change it unless he decides to make that decision and do the necessary things that he has to do. And one of those things is cutting me the fuck loose and letting me go. That's
a huge lesson that I think people have to learn, because we all want to help.
Of
like
course.
People love people, regardless of what it is they say. Like, people want other people to do well for the most part. People,
Definitely.
I mean, some people, they work with spite and regret. And again, misery does love company. So every now and again, seeing someone else be miserable to come and smother yours, that people do work off of that software. But
Definitely.
But we do want to genuinely help other people. I really just think it's a matter of figuring out how that is done truly. And in my experience, it hasn't been run around with your cape on and just try to figure everyone out and try to fix everyone, try to put everyone's misery on your back. It's not going to happen.
It's like that funny term the guys always say, Captain Save-A-Ho. That you can't be that.
Yeah.
You can't be that. You can't save a hoe. You can't. That's a hoe. Like, the hoe's gonna be a hoe until she doesn't want to be a hoe, and then she'll be a wife or whatever she wants to be.
Whatever she wants to be,
she will become that. But you can't save her. There is no saving that.
This is so funny that you use this though. That's so funny. But no, I completely understand what you're saying.
True.
It is that way. You just can't force people to be who they aren't. Or to have some revelation or some epiphany that they're not ready to have, that maybe they don't even have the prerequisite experiences to have in this moment.
Exactly.
You can't force people's growth. You can't.
Unfortunately.
We've all wasted some of our time trying to force someone, trying to accelerate someone's growth.
Exactly.
Yeah, you gotta leave that behind, man.
You have to. And if you don't, you're gonna end up killing yourself in one way or another. Figuratively, literally, mentally, whatever.
Yeah.
Spiritually was a big one for me. I almost lost every ounce of spiritual that I had in myself to try and help somebody who didn't really believe in spirituality. He was all about, like, God, and then atheism, and then God and atheism over and over again. He was having this battle with himself.
Whoa.
It was weird.
He was jumping. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, hold on a second. Let's talk about this God thing. When he said it to you, was it like a conventional God or like practice that he was talking about? Was he talking about like Jesus Christ?
Basically.
Oh, he was. Okay.
It was like Christianity, but a like more broadened version of Christianity.
Okay.
I believe in God and Christian principles, but it's not exactly Christianity.
Okay.
Right?
He didn't believe in necessarily all of the stories within the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
But he would jump back and forth, and part of that was because of the resentment he had from his like super Christian parents that forced him to go to church and do all this other stuff he didn't want to do. And so he jumped from I don't believe in God at all to I believe in God to I believe in the universe to I believe in nothing, I believe in God over. It was this like he was juggling theology in his hands.
Yes.
It was ridiculous.
Sometimes people are trying to figure things out, and you're being inundated maybe with a whole new, because if he did grow up for a long time in the church, then he may not have been exposed to anything else really. So then whenever he did find that there were other people with other insights and other ways of looking at the world, then it probably came in like a flood, and it's like, oh shit, there's a lot of other points of view out here.
Exactly.
And again, just like us trying to conceptualize being dark skinned or, not having crystal blue eyes at a young age while all these other kids are asking you whether you use toilet paper or not. It's probably hard for him to conceptualize in this moment, like, what do I believe? What is real?
What is real? What is God? What is religion? What is all of this?
Is this a simulation?
Exactly.
What is going on? So then so then you're reading stuff, you're looking at YouTube videos, you probably fell down that hole of YouTube videos.
Oh my God, no.
Who knows? So yeah, I could see that if you've just been completely sheltered for a long part, like you're up until your adolescence, up until your young adulthood, and then information hits.
It's definitely intense. I can only imagine how intense it is, because I was lucky enough to be very, very Muslim growing up, but I was able to look at other things as well. Okay. My parents didn't force me into Islam. Okay. They were like, this is what we practice, so until you reach a certain age, we're going to do this, and then you can do whatever you want. Okay. And so I went and searched a bunch of other stuff. I searched up Buddhism. I searched up just basic spirituality. I searched up Christianity. I went to the church a couple times. I looked at Judaism. I looked at all this other stuff, and I was like, okay, Buddhism, spirituality, these make sense.
I feel like I gave you at least one book, but I feel like I may have given you two.
You did. You gave me two.
I think one of them was Women in Love by D.H. Lawrence.
Yes,
and then another one was I think it was Unsubscribed. It was the Buddhist practitioner in New York. Okay.
It was Unsubscribed.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
I loved that book too, because it just validated all these principles I made in my head. I was like, okay, I was thinking about this right. Cool. But I mean, you have to find it yourself, and you have to not resent that part of yourself. Like, I think a big part of people who just are very confused in their theology resent that they're not a part of one specific religion. Maybe it's because of the religion they grew up having, or whatever it was, or their parents, or their loved ones, whatever. Because I know a lot of people who grew up Christian or grew up Muslim that are like, I can't be anything else. I can't believe in anything else. When in reality, yes, you can. You can believe in whatever you want to believe. Yeah. You're just choosing against it because you don't want to stir up the pot. You don't want to make somebody else upset. Like my best friend right now, she grew up Jehovah's Witness, but she's completely spiritual. She's the most spiritual person I've ever met. She has the most exuberant energy and aura, and she charges her crystals. She meditates and prays with her crystals, and herbal medicine and spells and rituals and all this other stuff. And it's like, she grew up Jehovah's Witness, but she let herself dive into something else. Yeah. She didn't have that resentment. And if she did have it at one point, she was like, okay, I'm going to get through this. Yeah. Because why should I resent myself on believing something that feels right in my heart? And that's something that's really, really difficult to understand about that person that I was with for a really long time, just because every single thing that was an embodiment of him stepping outside of his small town, his small family, all of this stuff was the worst thing in the world. Him stepping out of that and coming to a bigger city was like, okay, this is my big break. The big break didn't happen immediately, so I resent everything and I'm not going to move. Yeah. I'm just going to shut down. And I've never been that kind of person. We didn't spend too much time together, but I'm sure you know I'm not that kind of person. I'm not the type of person that's going to go somewhere and be like, okay, well, this didn't happen in 3 months, so I'm just going to give up and just say, screw my entire life and everything I worked for. Yeah. I'm going to find a new truth. I'm going to find a new thing. There's a reason I'm in this place still, and I need to find that before I move on to the next one.
Well, people lack discernment. Yeah. People lack discernment. And so people too easily, there's a real issue with people not knowing how to think about things effectively. Right? So people go through things and then they're very easily able to just jump to a conclusion, and it's usually the first or second one that pops into their mind, and then they stick with that, and because they don't know how to truly sift through information and analyze things for what they are. It's a very, very it's an invaluable skill to learn, to think truly. Exactly. But people have a really hard time. So you just, this didn't work, so I guess my fucking life is over. But right. It's why didn't it work though? Why didn't it work? Is it the location truly? Or is it you? Are you being true to what it is you're doing? Exactly. What sort of marketing plan are you going? Depending upon whatever it is you're doing, there's so many factors that factor into everything.
Exactly.
And you at least have to know at the bare minimum that you don't know what they all are. But you at least got to think as best as you can on what the ones you do know are, and try to break those things down into a way that you can actually discern what is real, what is not, what's a real obstruction, what's something that's really hindering you from moving forward, and what's really just a distraction.
Exactly.
What accountability are you taking? Like there's so many things to really think about.
Because I mean, when it comes to drug addiction, at least for me, I'm definitely 100% believing that it wasn't the drugs that were holding me back from anything. It was what was causing me to keep doing it. What's causing me to keep wanting to go do this? What's causing me to want to spend all my money? What's causing me to do all of this? Because it's obviously not the drugs. 'Cause if it was just the drugs, I would have never stopped. It was this part of me that felt so incomplete.
Right.
And didn't feel like, well, because you failed in this relationship and you failed succeeding this and making this person happy, you have nothing. And you are nothing. You even tried going to drugs and that didn't change anything. That made it worse. And so I had to dig really, really, really deep into myself, whether it was while I was going through detox and while I was in the beginning stages of rehab, to even now, because it's only been almost 3 months sober. Like, I'm still digging deep into myself and trying to find...
3 months sober, I just want to make this clear, just from fentanyl, though.
From everything.
Oh, from you went cold, you just cut it all out. That's really, really funny. The reason being is, what's today, the 25th?
I still smoke weed.
Oh, okay. Just weed is what you, okay.
Yeah, but
okay.
not often, honestly. I usually only smoke weed every now and again now. And you know I used to smoke a lot of weed.
Yeah, was it for sleep mostly, or just for...
Yeah, relaxation.
Relaxation.
Because my anxiety was peaked after that.
Do you eat well?
Now. Better.
Oh, eat better now?
Better.
But do you use weed for eating?
Yes,
Appetite?
just like I did in the beginning, which is quite funny. I feel like I completed a whole life cycle with drug use, because I started smoking weed because I had an eating disorder.
Right.
And I couldn't eat, and so my friends were like, weed, and I was like, oh my god, I can eat food.
That was what the poem was. That was what the poem was about that you read to me the very first time. Yep. It was very interesting too. I remember a line, or at least something within the line. It was I don't remember verbatim, but it was about you looking at a scale and deriving your value from that number.
The numbers that were coming up.
Yeah, and I remember hearing that, and I was like, holy shit.
Yep.
That's fucking deep. Like, you're getting a real read. Like, you're looking at a scale, and a number is about to flash up in front of you. And like, this number is an actual, I mean, it's so visual because it's a real number. It's a real value.
It's sitting right there in front of you.
And you can just play with that value and scale up or scale down. And it's just like, like, this is my value. This number that's here. That's very, very wild.
And I played that into like part of my thinking about today's society now, just because people's monetary status is a big derivative of their worth. Yeah,
for sure.
Like, for a lot of the time, if you say, oh, I make 6 figures, people are going to look at you like, oh, great, you're a great person. If you're like, oh, I make $32,000 a year, I'm a cashier right now, they're going to look at you like you're the scum of the earth. Or I'm in, I don't know, affordable housing, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that. They're going to look at you like you're crazy. And that's like, I didn't realize the parallels until I grew up a little bit, because I wrote that poem when I was probably 16. And I grew up and I was like, okay, holy shit. Like, it's not just the scale number that matters. It's now the bank account number.
Right.
And on top of that, it's going to be the mileage on my car. It's going to be whatever number is going to derive my worth. And I had to break free from that a lot, because I mean, when I was in active addiction, I would have like 62 cents to my name, and I'd be like, I'm still worthy of love. I'm still worthy of life. And that's something that I had to repeat to myself a lot. Because people, like, I mean, if you have $12,000 in your bank account, someone's going to look at you and be like, oh, wow, you're good. You're a good person. But if you have like $2, they're going to think you're crazy. They're going to think you're worthless, basically. You're like, oh, well, you don't do anything for the society. You're not putting anything into this. So fuck you. Who cares?
Like you're not churning out productivity.
And that's something I feel like a lot of people need to break free from. Society-wise, at least, I feel like getting pleasure or getting your self-worth or your life's worth from whatever number it is the worst way to live. It's just, you're constantly going to regret something.
Followers, likes.
Exactly.
Numbers.
Like social media on top of everything. That's just another way for people to feel like garbage about themselves because I didn't make enough. I didn't show enough people this. Enough people didn't think this was cool or pretty or whatever. I'm not weighing enough or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I watched that Netflix special, The Social Dilemma, and I, they did all that research on the numbers on young girls specifically committing suicide.
Yep.
And it being it seems like an undeniable track with the rise of social media.
Oh yeah.
It's just
definitely.
It's just like those. I just remember reading fucking staggering numbers. Like absolutely ridiculous.
Yep.
Constantly comparing yourself with these other people. And it's something that women have been going through for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was magazines and stuff like that before, but it wasn't in your face.
Now you see that.
Yeah.
Like 170 people think I'm beautiful versus 7 people think I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
Like that was really hard for me to overcome when I was just getting on social media too. I just had a Facebook and I remember posting like random shit. I was probably like 12 when I had a Facebook. I was just posting about like sandwiches and like how I felt that day or whatever. Just random stuff. And like if it didn't get this certain number of likes or reactions or comments, I was like, oh my god, I'm so weird. I'm awkward. I need to go away. Like, I need to work on myself and get better so people like me. When in reality, I just didn't have a lot of friends. Like there wasn't a lot of people on my social media.
Right.
And like when I first had an Instagram and stuff too, that was even worse. Because now I'm literally basing my worth and myself and my beauty on how many people like a picture. Yeah. And the amount of young girls that I've met throughout my lifetime that are like, I just hate myself. And I'm like, why? They're like, because people don't think I'm pretty. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, I only got like 352 likes on this picture and I usually get like 700. I'm like, who cares? Who really cares?
Yeah, that's
There's
different.
People posting about, oh, go like my new photo on Instagram, on their social media.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. They're vying for it like that. I didn't even know. Oh, they're advertising it like that. Yeah. Wow. I didn't even know it was like that. See, then again, I'm also old. So I grew up, so I remember growing up without all of this stuff. So I wasn't just completely consumed by it at the youngest age. Yep.
Because the rise of social media was the rise of my adolescence.
Yeah.
And so I see all of this stuff happening. I literally have seen friends of mine and like young people like either commit suicide, completely go away, like just ghost on everything and just disappear almost just because they didn't get enough attention. Yeah. And it's the most depressing thing in the world. A close friend of my sister's, who was basically like a sister to me, she killed herself in high school. And we read the note, and it was basically because she wasn't getting enough love from the people around her. She felt like other people were more deserving of the love that she was receiving. She was like, I'm not getting the likes, I'm not getting the attention, I'm not getting any of this. But on the other hand, there was another girl who I also knew. I was closer with her than my sister, but she killed herself and she was 16 years old. And she was the most popular girl in all of high school. She had thousands of likes on her social media. She had all the attention in the world and she hated her life. Yeah. And so I feel like there's such different ways you can view that. And it really depends on the way that you view yourself. And the way you view the world. Like you can I wrote this poem a long time ago too, that I think it was one of my first breakups, I What did I say? It was something along the lines of, I'm receiving all the love in the world, but I feel so alone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting all this love, all this attention, these gifts, and all this happiness, but I'm not fulfilled. I'm not happy.
It's empty.
Exactly. It's shallow.
Yeah.
And that really changed my perspective on all of that. Like, yeah, social media has definitely destroyed a lot of lives, but I feel like it's done it in both ways.
Yeah.
Like, people who are crazy famous, I don't want to be seen all the time. People who don't get anything at all see me more.
Right.
You know? And it's just that there's always been a number. And that's something that society's only making worse. Like,
yeah, it really means something. That the connections that you have with real people in your life, like the things that you're really doing with real people in your life, it's just, and suffice it to say, this does go back to mindfulness and meditation, because if you were just where you were all the time, then what would matter is what's in front of you. The people that you're with at that moment, that's what would be what's on your mind. That's what would be concerning you. Like right now, I'm talking to you, and now I've trained myself to listen over the years. So when I listen to people, I just, one, it's a meditation like everything else is in my life, and I have no, like, I can feel it as it happens. Like, I'm like, someone else will start talking and I'm looking at them and I can literally feel these, like, my ego set to the side. I can feel like these gates open up, and it's just data enrichment at that point. Like, I'm just taking whatever it is you're giving me, and the thought process and all that like that'll take care of itself. But I'm just absorbing whatever's happening. I'm not worried about any ego or shame or guilt or pride or anything that's going to obscure anything that you're saying and make it something that it's not. It's just happening. And because I've trained myself to be able to do that, we can just get in this zone and have this conversation, and we can, I think something that's really cool about the way that I conceptualize this is that it would be probably a very, very awesome thing to be omniscient, to just know all, right?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Well, we are dumb little humans, so we don't really get that.
We do
but
not.
But the closest thing that we can get towards it is so I'm over here occupying this space in consciousness.
Yes.
I can't occupy your space. But the best thing that I can do, the closest I can get to that, is if I shut my fucking mouth and you talk to me, and I let my ego go to the side and I just absorb what's going on. That's going to be the best way that I can occupy that space of consciousness sitting across from me.
Exactly.
Which gives me insights into things that I would otherwise have no way of understanding, which makes you just that much greater, that much wiser, that much more knowledgeable about the world going on around you. Like, I just got one other fraction, one other piece to what this world has to offer just by listening to you.
Exactly.
And when you do that, and then it allows you to have the types of conversations that we're having, where we learn so much about each other, and we dig deep, and we understand where one is coming from.
Yeah.
Which fosters great relationships between people.
Definitely.
There's a connection built there, which is why you were able to just come over here after us not seeing each other for years, and just be able to come kick it, because you felt that comfort, because we knew what this was. And that's the sort of connections that I like to make with people as best as I can. And that shit matters. Those types of relationships stave off this need to go try to look at a number on your phone and see what worth you have that day.
Exactly.
it's super important, man. You gotta you gotta be making strong connections with the people that are actually there,
right there,
really there.
Exactly.
That shit matters.
And it's so depressing because people always think that the number of followers that you have or the amount of people that you talk to through your phone on a daily basis is what matters. But what is networking? Like, let's really dig deep on that. What is networking? It's making connections with people. It's not having a follower. It's not having somebody else on your LinkedIn. It's having a conversation, having charisma, and having a connection with somebody. It's not just DMing every once in a while or sending a heart eyes emoji or whatever. Like, that's not at all what it is. The way to succeed in this type of society is to build strong connections. And people like to minimize that so much. Because I'm one of those people that people my age at least call me old-fashioned. Oh, you just want to talk, like, on the phone. You actually want to be on FaceTime. Like, you want to use your phone for what it is instead of being on social media or games or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, because it's a fucking phone, dude.
Yeah.
I want to talk to people. That's the point.
It's so much more than a phone for people. I mean, well, one, it is, and two, people don't even see that as, I mean, like, that being the function is such a minuscule part of it.
Exactly.
Like, it's really a portal.
Yeah.
That's really what that thing is. It's a portal into everything else.
Everything.
Yeah. Me being able to call someone is the least of
the bare minimum.
That's the least of what people are thinking about.
I can go into so many different things just on that.
Yeah.
That is intense. I can see terrible, dark, disgusting stuff on this. I can get into a completely different side of the universe, side of the world, something I've never experienced before by a simple Google search or a simple YouTube loop that I fall into or whatever.
Yeah, investing in people is... It's been the most rewarding thing for me. I'll tell you that. Like, I can't give the answers to everybody for everything, but what I can speak is from my experience in that in my life, investing in people has been easily the most rewarding of decisions I have ever made.
Definitely.
Easily.
And in the right ways.
Yes. Well, yeah.
I can definitely say I've invested in the wrong people, but that has taught me a lot of stuff. So I can't say it was the wrong thing to do or something that I shouldn't have done, but you have to have a certain level of, like, armor on yourself almost to be able to face these different storms. Yeah. Because to me, people are a bunch of different things. They can be floral, they can be storms, they can be tornadoes, they can be whirlwinds, they can be all this other stuff. And you have to decide, do you want to continue weathering it? And, like, one of the biggest parts about having a relationship is letting go of the relationship and knowing when to do that. Because you can only get so much data. You know what I mean? You can only get so much insight from a real human connection. Because there's always going to be a time where that connection is necessary to die out. Whether it's from that person leaving the earth or you both just being like, okay, we have to go, or one or the other. Because I can say I learned a lot from all the terrible things that I've experienced. Yeah. I have learned so much about people, about the mind, about the psyche, about relationships, love, the world almost, just from all these other things that I wouldn't be able to understand if I just kept sitting and talking to one person.
Yeah, you can definitely, relationships can easily, and I think often do stagnate for 1,000%. I think that the beauty in relationships that last in a productive way is that however many people are in this, said relationship, they have found a way. I just had a guy named Brad on here a couple episodes ago, and he spoke about the Beatles documentary, which I still need to watch.
Me too.
But how he said that the Beatles, most people think about creativity by just like smoking weed or, I don't know, doing whatever the fuck it is people correlate with artisticness. And then fucking doing whatever it is you do. You pick up the guitar and you make a song with your friend, or you paint a picture or whatever. I guess in this documentary they had spoken about how the Beatles had created a system for building creativeness. Like how they were going to get creativity, how they were going to churn creativity out, and that they had built a system to make sure that happened. And I think that's the beauty in relationships is you have to find out how to not allow this, if you care about each other and you want this to go the long haul, whatever form of relationship it is, how to not allow it to stagnate. So you have to come up with ways to continue to generate love and generate newness inside of that thing. And if you just throw your hands up and say love will take care of it, that's where you're probably going to end up fucking up. Yeah,
exactly.
Like that. These are conscious decisions 100%. That have to be made. You have to find ways.
You have to choose that.
Yeah.
A big part of love for me is choosing to love that person every single day. It's regardless of the messed up things you've done, I'm choosing to love you and choosing to pour into you. But if you're not pouring back, then what is that? That's not a relationship. I'm just going to keep filling up the glass till it overfulls. Like, I can't do anything about that. Because that's not a relationship anymore. Like, a relationship is supposed to build both people while you're having it. Whether or not it's, financial or whatever. It's supposed to build you in one way or another. Whether it's building more joy, building more comfort, just, being able to be yourself with somebody and understand that person is going to take care of you and you're going to take care of them. Yeah. It's kind of like, what is that thing called?
A seesaw. Yeah.
Is it a seesaw?
Yeah, a little fulcrum.
Yeah. The two benches thing.
Yeah, seesaw. That's a seesaw. Yeah.
It's like that. Like, both parties have to keep moving for that to keep going. But if one person steps off, then...
I talk about this all the time. Partnerships. You know what I mean? Like... People find themselves in relationships all the time, but how often do you find yourself in a partnership?
Exactly.
Like you guys have, like if you thought about that in regards to a business venture that you were going to have, you guys would have to come together and write out a mission statement. Like what is this business? Like what are we doing here? What is the business or what is the product or the service that we're selling? How far are we trying to take this thing?
And what does it mean to us?
What does it mean to us? And in what ways are we going to systematically put in place what needs to be put in place in order for those things to happen?
Exactly.
Right? So like these are things that have to happen. But if you're not having these conversations in a relationship, then imagine how wild that would be going into business that way.
Exactly.
Like you just together, hey man, you want to sell some stuff? Sure, man. What do you want to sell? It doesn't matter. Let's just sell some stuff. Okay.
Have you ever seen Kitchen Nightmares?
No. Wait. Is that the one where Gordon Ramsay runs around and he's finding
trying to fix all these messed up restaurants?
3-year-old cheese and people.
That is literally the definition of a terrible business partnership.
Right.
That's where it's
Let's just get these 4 walls and just start selling stuff.
Throwing stuff to the wind. If they like it, cool. If they don't, I don't care. Like that's what it is.
You're so fucking right. It's so great. You're right. You're so right. Like people are actually doing this in the business world. Like they're just putting something together and they're just like, let's just see if it works.
Exactly. And they're people that know that partnership wise, they are not good together. Like they cannot do this. They're like, you're in my proximity. You're going to be the only person that's going to say yes to this right now. So let's go.
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
Yeah, a lot of that. Really that's a lack of patience. It's a lack of patience because you don't want to wait for the right thing or the right person, and it's also, like I said before, a lack of discernment.
Definitely.
Like what do I need for this to work? Like what do I truly need?
Just thinking about the end goal, what you want, not what it's going to take to get there.
Yeah,
that's a big part of it. Like I love Kitchen Nightmares. It's something I watch all the time in my free time, and seeing these people, they're in marriages, they're best friends, they're sisters, cousins, whatever. They're destroying their relationship because they're not going to communicate with each other about it. They're just going to say, screw it, we're going to let everybody else take care of it. We made the idea, you guys can handle it. Instead of being a partnership, getting things together, being able to, come together with communication and have this whole thing blossom into something. They're just planting the seed and being like, okay, well, if it rains, it'll water. And that's it.
Oh, yeah. That's, man...
It's true. It is depressing, but it's true.
Oh man, people. What the fuck is going on out here? People are so great, man. They're so great. Oh my god. I'll tell you what, man. One of the reasons I love doing this so much is, again, my investment in people. But a lot of that comes from my genuine interest in human beings. Mm-hmm. I find them so fascinating.
It's so interesting.
They're so fascinating. Just all the different things that we do
and think and believe.
Right. And the things that we think that we believe and we don't. And, you know, it's,
oh my God.
You know, like sometimes we believe in things in theory, but we do not practice them. We do not believe in practice. It's so, people are so fascinating to me. Mm-hmm. Man, how long have we been doing this now? For a little over. Oh man, you have. Okay, so listen. Something that everyone's required to do when they come on here.
Okay.
This is called the Any Last Words Pod. All you have to do is just give some last words to the people.
Oh, lovely.
Just give some last words for the people.
Lovely.
I think we're at, if I'm reading this correctly, how long do you think we are? How long do you think we've been doing this? Off the top of your head.
Like 2 hours.
Okay, that's not bad. Like 2.5 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I was only 30 minutes off.
Yeah,
Look
not
at
bad.
me.
Not bad.
Okay. God, this is the worst. Because I'm really bad at decisions. I don't know whether to leave this on a funny note or whether to leave this on like a be spiritual and mindful.
Oh man, it doesn't. Come on, man. It doesn't matter. You've already said so much. The people like they're gonna get what they're gonna get from you.
Get it. Yeah. Okay. My last words are: if you have to say "fuck it" before you do it, don't do it. Hey, man. Oh God! If anything,
that's a fact. That's probably a super fact. You should probably just take a walk away, just and just think about it.
Rethink.
Just think about it.
Play out how that's gonna go before.
That's super funny. That's super funny.
I really enjoed this. This was great.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
This was awesome.
This was great.
My last words to the people. Unsubscribe. Great book about a Buddhist practitioner in New York City. Great story, great principles. I forget the person that wrote it, but unsubscribe. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. That's also a super awesome book. Mm-hmm. I've already talked about this one as well, but I'm going to do it as many times as it takes. Nathan C. Schaefer's book, Thinking and Learning to Think. Yes. Awesome book. Those are my last words to the people. Love you guys.
Beautiful.
This is episode 106.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
Peace.